Hello? Wicked. Oh my goodness, is this some kind of stream? Are you all stream viewers? You wouldn't be the kind of people who just sit around like watching a stream, would you? Ugh, okay, alright, well, that's how I'm spending my night at least. Fine. Hello, Sarah Fletcher. Welcome, Babel. Hello, Crooked Canines. I like that name. That's cute. Artist Synth Worm Pepis. Excellent username. Matt J. Crowley. W Cubum, or Wcubum, if you will. Welcome. Ocean Days. Pamphleteer. Hey, Andy. Always good to have you here. Bass Junkie. Kiri Magic. Agenda Gorgon, which I thought I misread, but it's fine. Beefcliff, Scout Omniform, Meredith K. Pseudonym, and Middle-earth Marxist. And hey, possibly a Joe has come here too. That's really nice. So, right, what are we doing? What are we up to? What's happening? What's even going on? What's the deal with Keir Starmer? Oh boy, so many things. So I'm going to do a little stream now. I have my friend Shash, who's going to join us in a moment. I'm waiting for the ready symbol from her, and then we will be ready to go. We're going to watch some little clips. In all honesty, we're going to watch probably about 10 minutes with pauses and roasts and jokes and japes. Nat, could I have that coffee? Thank you. Nat just took my side table away to put her laptop on. Negative Land, thank you so much for subscribing. Which reminds me to say, as we are watching the Keir Starmer interview, I am doing my job. I like when I get paid for my job. So if you're enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using Command Tip. And if you use Command Tip, just remember to do this, you will be contributing to this, which will help me with some expenses for the next video that I'm working on, because I've lost a lot of income from not releasing videos, and I want to make my next video really, really, really good, so that it helps to get my channel back on track. So, just checking. Yup, looks like Shash is ready. So we're gonna watch some shit. One more time, if you're enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using Command Tip. If you have a Prime subscription, you can attach it to your Twitch account, and you can subscribe to the channel, and it doesn't cost you any money, but I get free money. If you want to give me money in a way that Jeff Bezos gets no cut of, future Mad Max warlord Jeff Bezos gets no cut off whatsoever, then use Command Tip, and you can donate to my PayPal directly. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoy the stream. For some context, this is Keir Starmer, current leader of the Labour Party, talking to the head of Mumsnet. So we'll get some more context on what that is in a second when I bring Shash on. But first, let's get Shash on there. So where's my button? Where's the Shash button? Oh, there's the Shash button. Wow. Hey, Shash. I set it up so it looks like we're just like talking directly to each other. It's like a little conversation. See?
I see. Okay.
I'm so smart. I'm such a powerful streamer.
I am actually looking at my other screen where you are, and the camera. It's like a multicam setup, but
wow.
through the power.
Disco Sophia, thank you so much for subscribing, and excellent name choice. Just such a good name. I'm not even talking about your username. I just mean Sophie. Anyway, Shash, do you want to tell us who the fuck you are?
I'm a mutual aid person. I'm one of those radical anarchists that you hear about.
Have you co-founded the stream to smash windows and burn things down? And
yes. Yeah, definitely. Tiny Shash, big Sophie. Yes, giantess Sophie.
Yeah, that's actually Shash and I. That's our thing.
That's a different type of
stream. On this stream, actually. So today we're gonna be wait, you should probably mention organizations before just saying that you're mutual aid radical anarchists and then moving on. Shout out to Shash. Plug some stuff. Oh no, she froze. Shit. Shash. Oh no. Oh no. I've lost Shash. Oh no. She got too radical, and GCHQ hacked her computer and shut her down from the inside. This dang it. Wow, I nearly had a hype train already. That's fucking cool as hell. Folks, I really appreciate the support. Please do keep subscribing. You can cheer, you can donate directly using Command Tip. I appreciate all of them. I think that if you were invested in the hype train, cheering would probably help with that right now. I don't know if that's true. I'm guessing about how Twitch works. So give it a go. What's going on with Shash? Just blue screen. Yeah, she's entirely her whole entire deal has become clapped. So I'm just gonna like fill air, I guess, and just chat with you all. Is everyone having a nice day? Let's get the Discord loading thing off. There we go. Shash is being silenced by Big Sophie. No, Shash is actually in the pocket of Big Sophie. She would never be silenced by Big Sophie. Cough much? My headphones stopped doing pass-through right when I said that. That was very strange. Maybe it's because I complained about the coughing. My headphones were like, she doesn't want to hear that. Navarre, what's this? Nat, you've posted in the chat. Do you want me to look at things right now? What's happening?
No, I thought other people would appreciate it.
Shash got quoted in this great article in Navarre Media. Oh, that's really cool.
About trans mutual aid networks.
Nice. That's really cool. Shashy there. Shash. Oh, I can see Shash. So I'm going to press my Shash button and put her back on the screen now. Shash! Hello! Welcome back to the stream.
I'm alive.
It's working perfectly. Okay, let's get back into it. Shash, you are with what organizations?
I'm with Trans Aid Cymru, which is a mutual aid for trans people and trans, intersex, and non-binary people in Wales, and also a director of Trans Safety Network, where we publish information and resources about the harm and trying to prevent harm to trans community because of the misinformation and shit that goes around. Oh yeah,
Very
I'm back.
cool.
I think Jeff Bezos took me out and
It's
blue screened me remotely.
It is possible, yeah. I think it might be that you said you were a radical anarchist and you were here to smash things and set fire to cop cars on his platform, and he was like, no. Gola from below, thank you so much for cheering 300 bits. Just adding chapter markers to a bunch of Darkest Dungeon vids. How are you, Sophie? I'm doing quite well. I just recorded a crossover episode between Cringe Corner and the podcast Knowledge Fight, and it was very funny, and I'm looking forward to everyone being able to see it. And I'm hanging with my pal Shash. It's very good. I'm grilling her with tough questions like, who are you? Here's another tough question, and much less based this time. Who is Keir Starmer?
When I saw him live, that was a very interesting sensation. His stand-up.
Everyone booed.
I would love to say it was a stand-up, but he was talking about his, like, dead friend or something, and I felt like, I really can't heckle you right now.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, Shash came to stay at mine a couple weeks ago, and went to a Pink News event, and Keir Starmer was actually there, and we were like, heckle him, and Shash was like, yeah, he's talking about a dead friend. It's
I mean, he did kind of look like a tin of spam, you know.
That's the first for the Keir Starmer roast counter tonight. But the question remains: who is he?
Um, well, like he's supposedly the leader of the Labour Party. I hear.
Wow. Your
But I
uncertainty really, I think, encapsulates his entire career.
yeah, exactly.
And me having to ask like several times over who the fuck even is Keir Starmer also gives
Like,
people a good. It's actually the strong. It doesn't seem like this is a good introduction, but this is actually the strongest possible introduction you can have to Keir Starmer, who after like the record-setting, hyper-popular Jeremy Corbyn, who made Labour into the largest political party in Europe with his extremely popular policies that everyone liked. Now we have Keir Starmer.
yeah, it's it's truly something. We really went fell backwards.
Yeah.
I think like what like when you ask me that question, what really like what can I say that like defines it? And the thing is, he has no defining thing, does he? He's such a flip flop when it comes to all kinds of issues.
Yes.
There is like you can't even say that he's like I don't know, a Blairite, or I mean, I guess you could call him a bit of a
He absolutely. I
Blairite.
mean, he's inarguably a Blairite.
um,
He's very much like chasing Tony Blair's legacy. Only Tony Blair was popular for a time, and people knew who he was and cared, and like wanted to vote for him over the alternative. Whereas Keir Starmer just is the alternative. It's any popularity that he's had at any point in polls has only just been like, we really are sick of the Tories.
I think what was like kind of depressing to like hear, like I always see the libs talk about this, especially with like the advent of a general election looming, possibly, depending if people actually throw rocks. Um, is the idea that like that we must vote for Labour, and the reason Labour's doing all of this is to accrue the moderate vote, the non-existent moderate vote. I want to be clear.
Yeah, because there are so many moderates in 2022. There are so many.
Yeah,
just like you go to
yeah.
talk to someone and they express a bunch of extremely normal, middle of the line, tempered, moderate opinions. Whenever you talk to someone from now, like it's really that's the political landscape we find ourselves in. There's no one more popular than centrists.
And I
Go on,
yeah, sorry. I wish I could even say that he was like just like at least the one thing I can give the Tories, at least they are like staunchly right in political and staunchly like
They're about
whereas
something.
like yeah, they may be a chaotic mess right now, but they know what they want to do, and that's kill the poor.
Yeah, exactly. And kill transgender people, which a fun fact about me that I don't know if you know is I'm transgender. And that will actually be relevant to the discussion. The discussion tonight. I know. I just figured it would be worth disclosing at this point in our relationship. I did see someone's comment just now. Transgender, who may or may not also be transgender, but I don't know, said he's Margaret Thatcher's other neoliberal son who she isn't proud of. If Tony Blair is her greatest achievement, Keir Starmer is,
He spends time at the statue, and she's like, "Why are you here?"
Your sound is becoming increasingly alien. I'm just gonna say.
No.
You might want to look into that. While I introduce the audience to a little game. So I haven't devised the exact nature of this game yet. Maybe we could generate bingo cards. Maybe we could do like a drink every time if whatever. I mean, I'll have my Lipton peach iced tea because I don't drink, or we could vape. I don't know. Whenever Keir Starmer uses just like deeply like political wonk centrist language, right? Like, I believe strongly that it is important to the party that this kind of stuff. I just like, again, he makes no impression on anyone. So you might be thinking that he has like no kind of defining qualities that are even kind of worth highlighting in this way, but he does. He has a whole set of catchphrases. It's just that they come straight out of the Bill Clinton handbook on how to be a centrist third way loser, completely grey milk toast, unappealing centrist. I think that I want to try and keep account or just have fun with whenever Keir Starmer says something like, I don't know, this is an issue that matters a lot for us to get right.
And we need to stand by these communities.
Yes.
Nothing
Stand by
else.
these communities, exactly. All right. Well, with that said, shall we watch some Keir Starmer talking to... Wait, no, there was one more who is that I need to ask you. Who is Mumsnet?
Oh, Mumsnet used to be the place in my youth where I would read funny sex stories about weird middle-aged moms, like about like the guy who orgasmed like with pirate voice every time, or like dolphin voice. There was another one.
Wow.
And I learned a lot about like the acronyms when I was surfing that time, and it was like dear daughter or something like that, and it was like, wow.
Right.
and I was like, this is a surreal universe. And I thought, you know what? It's Mumsnet. Nothing's gonna happen. A few years later, when you go there now, and it's like, yes, we are the middle-aged mom political faction to erase trans people.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's and like, Mumsnet have supposedly tried to stop their users being so transphobic in every other forum. They try to quarantine it to one forum, but what's turned out basically is like that's the most active forum on their website.
Like when
no one else
like
posts
when
that.
Something awful exiled all the Nazis and racists and fascists, and it just became 4chan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you to everyone who's joined the stream since we started talking. Just to sum up really quickly again, I'm Sophie. This is Shash. We're going to be watching Keir Starmer talking to the head of Mumsnet. If you're enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using Command Tip. If you do the Command Tip, you'll be contributing to my little fundraiser to help me with expenses for my next video. But all support is very welcome as we dive into just a deeply delightful evening. We're watching out for... especially
Why did I
watching
agree
out
to
for...
this?
We're especially watching out for wonkery. That's, I think, is the drinking game of tonight. Every time Starmer uses phrases like we must stand by these communities, or this is an issue.
Every
that
time he
matters
says a
lot to me.
platitude that has no actual like policy backing, that, like
Yes.
oh, I
Every time
feel
he
sorry
says
if anyone
a
is playing a
platitude
drinking
that,
game.
like, he could just as equally he could be saying this to the trans people that these fucking bigots are organizing to destroy, and it would mean just as little, except that he is appealing to these bigots, and these are the ones that he's chosen to give an airtime to, so that's great. That's awesome, isn't it? Okay. Okay. I need to... Oh no, I've just realized I don't have the full setup yet. I need to... Oh, there's like a watch along site, isn't there? I should use that. Hang on a sec.
Oh.
Oh. What's the site where you can watch YouTube together? Here it is. Watchtogether.tv. Wow.
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 Magic.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shash, be entertaining.
Oh
Oh my god, what is happening? Okay.
My face. I got a sports massage today. My legs are like
Oh.
jelly.
But are you more sporty?
No, they call it a sports
So,
massage, but I'm not an athletic
saucepan
person. You've met me.
Lots of women. including me, have been told that
It's supposedly
she
like,
says,
like general massages are meant to be
lots of
nice
women,
and relaxing.
including me,
Sports
have been told
massages
that
is the
we are-
ones where they like dig into your muscles and make sure you're in pain, but like
Oh. Excellent.
relieved from said
Well,
pain.
That's what you want.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just oh god.
Okay, so if I now give you the link to this room, we should be able to watch this together live, is I think the premise of the website. So does that work?
Let me pick a username.
Oh.
Ooh,
Oh.
Shash. That's
Oh.
me.
Spicy choice.
I'm very inventive.
I say having picked Sophie for my username.
Yeah, I'm embodying Keir Starmer, okay? This is a roleplay.
You wouldn't want to rock the boat.
No.
Okay. So, let me change screens over here. I've got it set up to the timestamp where the discussion gets real spicy.
Fantastic.
So if I play this...
Bigots,
Oh,
because
yeah,
we
plays
repeated
nice.
Yeah, cool.
Oh! It's like magic.
The first word we hear is bigots, so that's good.
Oh.
Cool, let's get into it.
What is this set? Can we just talk about this before we start?
I'm gonna lead with something that Nat said to me right before we actually went live, and just say that it could be the real physicality of the people involved, or it could just be an optical illusion. But like, this woman is gonna have some opinions about transgender people, and like, she looks like she's twice the size of Keir Starmer. And I'm just like, as ever, it always bears repeating. Like, cis women come in all shapes and sizes, and like, anyway,
all of that is like IKEA furniture, which is, I
Yeah.
know because I've been looking at IKEA recently. But like, it doesn't look right. Like, I know it's meant to be like a TV set, but like maybe it's because it's like got that weird perspective shift that they did in like the Lord of the Rings films, you know, to make
Yes.
people like look small.
Keir Starmer's drinking from like a 2 times the size teapot, and like she's got like a half size one to make it look like she's 4 times bigger. So Shield Ball Spaces, thank you very much for donating £10. Shash, you should be able to play and pause as you feel. So we should both be able to start and stop as we like. And the first 5 minutes of this is going to be on the trans question.
Yes, I love it when it's phrased like that. Really brings confidence.
and then from there, if we're having a great time watching The Boy, he has some pretty intellectual answers to some other questions too, although maybe less relevant to you and me. So let's dive in.
lots of women, including me, have been told that we are bigots because we've repeatedly raised concerns about child safeguarding in the
Is that why? Is that why you get told you're a bigot? Is that
what?
All right, I you know what? I'm cutting off halfway through the first sentence. This is unfair.
context of gender identity services. But the Cass Review's interim report showed that we were right to be concerned, particularly with reference to the lack of evidence around the long-term.
I'm sorry. It's just like when someone's trying to have an interview with you and they just like they preface it by being like, we've been called bigots for having concerns, but our concerns were right. Before they even asked a question, how are they not like in your head? It should be going like,
yeah. Like the fact that neither of them have jumped in at this point to be like, are you sure? Okay, you say they call you bigots. What are you sure those concerns are? What exactly? And what really astounds me is that the fact that they're in this room at all, because like it's not like it's an unknown secret that Mumsnet is just a hub of transphobia. Like at this point, like
it's actually quite well known.
Yeah, you'd have to be ridiculous to think Mumsnet is actually a place for mums to share tips and networking. They've just those mums have moved on to being swingers because it's just
because those mums were cool and Mumsnet is not. I mean, you're right. Like I was being a little coy by like, you know, asking you to explain what Mumsnet is, like it, and you know, maybe just a little for the Americans watching or whatever. But like it is just really well known that like it's just a transphobic fucking hellhole. So What you doing, Keith? What's that about? All right. Let's see what he says.
Term consequences.
Well, you know what? Let's hear what the fucking question even is. So far, she's just said that bigotry is justified.
Of puberty blockers. Can I please
Oh, good.
ask if you've read the report
Oh, good.
and how you would be guided by its recommendations to provide better safeguards for children?
I do want to just, like, I'm trying to be hyper quick, and I do want to actually hear their answers. But, like, I do want to always say when the discussion of puberty blockers comes up that, like, puberty blockers are a compromise, that cis people, like, it's what cis people want is for kids to not be allowed to transition completely. And then cis people aren't even happy with the compromise because they just don't want trans people to fucking exist. But, like, trans kids don't want to just have their puberty on pause. They want to get to, like, go through puberty at the same time as all their peers. But it's just it's important to me to note that whenever it's brought up.
No, I don't think we should refer to people in those terms for wanting to have a discussion about what is a very, very sensitive issue. This is about children's well-being. It's often about their mental health. And I do think, you know, the Department for Education have been looking at some of these issues, particularly where it relates to schools. We're still waiting for guidance to come forward. And what I hear a lot of the time, particularly from head teachers, is that they are trying to
Head teachers are bourgeois reactionary scum.
navigate this area. They're trying
No elaboration.
to do what's best for them.
No, in very real terms, there are teachers, right, who will be in teachers unions, who care about, like, children's, like, education and their safety, and, like, have a personal relationship to kids they actually teach. And then there's head teachers who are just, like, the, like, omega cops of the entire education world. They are such pieces of shit.
I honestly don't understand how the education system, like, works well in any capacity. I mean, it doesn't, obviously, but, like...
What do you mean, Shash? Tony Blair fixed it. He said education.
I'm a grammar school kid. I know.
He opened it up to the private market. The free market solves everything, Shash. What are you talking about? Privately run academies are clearly better.
Oh, it's just everything, like somehow, like, during my schooling period, it got progressively worse. And, like, I remember, like, even, like, where's my milk? You know?
Maggie Thatcher Milk Snatcher, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm realizing this is going to be an extremely British stream, and if there are any Americans watching, I'm sorry. But I'm also not sorry. We're going to keep on saying things like Maggie Thatcher Milk Snatcher and not explain ourselves.
I mean, Reagan probably did something similar, right? Like, school meals or something. I don't know.
Or not like researching any
segregating children
and letting his
by
best friend
skull shape
die because he didn't. Yeah, you know, just whatever. Like, you know, just like something similar.
Just normal white people shit, you know.
Oops, neoliberal moment. Head teachers are pieces of shit. I'm sorry. It needs saying. Head teachers are not the same as teachers, and if you're talking about, like, safeguarding and the concerns of kids, like, head teachers are not actually plugged into the concerns of kids. They exist to, like, yell at kids and get a fucking fat paycheck for being an administrator and for, you know, keeping the school inside the guidelines of the ghoulish, like, current system.
So yeah, like oops. So, like, for example, the governors choose who, like, the head teachers are and stuff. And so obviously they're going to choose people who keep the status quo. And
in a not just similar but consciously similar and deliberately imitating way to how a board can hire and fire a CEO.
Yeah, and the worst part is like, if you, like, a lot of teachers who aspire to become head teachers have to knowingly know that, like, they won't be, like, supported by their union kind of thing, you know, because, like, you're not a worker necessarily anymore. You're overseeing some teachers directly. Like, you're a manager.
You realistically shouldn't be in any kind of union if you have hiring and firing power over anyone. That's just as a broad rule for all workers.
Yeah. And so, like, it's a scab position. It's a scab position. If you become a head teacher, you're a scab.
Yeah, this is why I said they're reactionary bourgeois scum. So they've spoken to some head teachers, which is about what I'd expect from the current Labour Party.
The children that they're responsible for. They want to make sure that children are properly supported. It's, you know, it can be a difficult.
You know, being a head teacher would give you a lot of time to do things like go online, go on Mumsnet, see what parents are concerned about, you know.
Time, and the absence of that guidance does make it harder.
There's just like a deep experiential gap already emerging 2 seconds into this interview between, it's just like we're talking to Mumsnet with reference to head teachers with these 2 fucking dipshit lanyards from the Labour Party wearing poppies. I just saw they're wearing fucking poppies.
When was this filmed?
It was the last couple of days.
Oh my god.
It's poppy season now.
Oh.
For those who don't know, the poppies denote that British politicians love opium.
I think for schools and for school leaders to try and do what's right for children, making sure they've got the support that they need. I think that is really important.
And you've read the Cass report, both of you? You know what I'm talking about when I talk about the Cass review?
I do, and I feel very strongly about that children shouldn't be making these very important decisions.
I love his kung fu pose of like showing. He has read it. He's like, all right. We're now going to be subjected to, and I'm very sorry, content warning, everyone.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer's voice.
Without consent of their parents. I say that as a matter of principle. I say it as a parent. We all know what it's like, you know, with teenage children, and I feel very strongly about this. That you know,
I feel very strongly about this.
This argument that children can make decisions without consent of the parents is one I just don't agree with at all.
Okay. And user lost the pot says, I'm not anti-trans.
I just, the way okay, so what he doesn't realize he said there, and it's complete contradiction what he said basically to a bunch of LGBTQ people at the Pink News Awards, like high-profile LGBTQ people.
I hate to cut you off, Shash, but I am trying to highlight. I'm trying to be equal opportunities for chat here and allow as many Keir Starmer roasts in as possible, and just say, Steb McDreb said, he sounds like we have Greg Davies at home. Please go on.
And so like the thing is he falls into the framing of the question as like, which as like, you know, he is the leader of the Labour Party. He should be better at interviews than this. Like, come on, this is your job.
Right. Like, you're not even in government, you're opposition.
Yeah.
Like, literally your entire job, actually, is interviews. And it just shows that you either don't care, or you just agree with the question.
Yeah.
And everything that's said in there.
Because, so, like, what that interview has got Keir Starmer to agree to, or, like, say, is essentially, like, I've read the Cass report, which has highlighted, I've read it personally as well, and which highlighted failings of the Tavistock service for not seeing trans kids enough. That's the problem. Like, the issue with Tavistock is it's slow, the waiting lists are long, they don't get through the list fast enough, you know, like, and what they recommend in the interim report is they want to have more local specialized centres than having one centre in England which accommodates all of England and all of Wales for trans kids at the moment. And like, it's frustrating because like, having talked to Hilary Cass and the team on the Cass review, they are constantly frustrated by people using the Cass report as a dunk or some way when it clearly doesn't say that. And this is like, and this isn't necessarily just the Cass report issue as well. Like this is a constant thing that's been happening on like the far right as well. Like you see it with pickup artists all the time, and like or like men's right activists who quote like rape figures, for example, like and they always like link to sources and it immediately proves them wrong.
Reality has a left-wing bias, I believe they say.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're being cited like articles, studies, facts, and figures by right-wingers, you tend to say the exact opposite of what they say. Watan18 says, I've been on the waiting list for 7 years. I'm very sorry to hear that. That's really horrible. Beefcliff says, as a parent of cis kids, I have strong opinions about trans kids. Right, fucking exactly. Oh, trans.
Yeah.
Though that said, you don't fucking know. Like maybe with the opinions he's expressing right now, maybe Keir Starmer's kids are trans. And
grim.
can you imagine? Yeah, trans Jane Dare says, "God, it's so fucked up that some kids have to grow up with Keir Starmer as their dad."
Yeah. Could you imagine him like the way he talks about teenagers like they don't have like they are like becoming adults, they're learning to be themselves, and he's just like, actually, they can't know themselves, so fuck them.
Right. Yeah, someone
Like-
else, Thomiel York said, Sir Keir's official position, children equal property. Yeah, that's absolutely
Yeah,
what he's saying.
yeah.
He's like, I have teenage kids, so I'm very plugged into this issue. I would be very concerned, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, fucking, yeah, man.
Like-
fuck.
I a lot of like I know like me and Sophie were trans when we were teenagers, I can assure you. And like we probably like if this tool was supposedly like the option for like liberation, I don't think we would have come out. Like could you imagine
I mean,
this guy being
until I was 22, like because
Yeah.
because there was no options for me, there was no representation, there were no people around me who ever highlighted for me like, hey, you could be a girl. And then as soon as I did have an inkling of realization, I was like, holy shit, I'm a girl, and went as far as I could as fast as possible because like I had a lot of shit to correct. From,
Yeah.
like not being fucking clued in.
and
Yeah.
and this guy wants to be like, no, actually, kids should learn less.
Kids should have fewer options, less agency, less education, no idea what the fuck is going on with themselves, and no ability to know if they. Yeah, it's just like there's just no trust in the idea that like this is the thing that really bothers me, is that like along the way to like trying to delegitimize trans people, to trying to say that trans kids aren't really trans and don't really know what their gender is, a really huge statement that like I wish that there's no way I'm gonna get the vast majority of like cis teenagers to care about this, but they're saying if you're a cis teenager that you don't know what your gender is, right? If you're a cis boy watching this, they are saying to you that all it would take is for a couple of your friends to gently ask, "Are you sure?" and you would become a girl instantly. They are sure that you are like that flimsy in your self-identity, right? Like it's not just saying that trans kids are confused or don't know or whatever, right? It's necessarily because the idea that they're conjuring is of cis kids getting confused and going down this wrong path. Like that's necessary in what he's saying in his answer there, that like that kids don't know themselves, that they have no idea, Also, I think it's really just worth highlighting what Nat said, that he is asking for conversion therapy for kids right there. Like he is.
Yeah.
Immediately, he is saying kids should be refused to exist as themselves without permission from their parents, and that's conversion therapy. That is deeply vile. It's really fucked up.
It's also incredibly unethical for a teacher to be like reporting on their kids about something that may change, like from using their own words, like their gender may change, they may go back to being cis. Why would you out them to their family where it could cause irreparable damage? Like
it's horrible. It's absolutely
and it's like,
vile. And I think that he may say in this interview, or he may whether he brings it up or not, like Labour has committed to a complete ban on conversion therapy, where the Tories have deliberately exempted trans people, which obviously means that their ban on conversion therapy is just gibberish. Like no one, like someone who is brought in for conversion therapy for their gender identity could just as well be, because she's a girl who likes other girls, so they're treated, like could be a butch lesbian, could be a femme, like gay boy, gay, sorry, and so like him saying, and so the Labour Party stance that they would have a complete ban on conversion therapy and include trans people in that ban and protect trans people from conversion therapy. Well, he's saying he wants conversion therapy, like right there. So it's the exact opposite. Additionally, Keir Starmer is like if the concept of a knighthood was poured into 1,700 pounds of spam and then put through a processor until it was a fine slurry and poured into a mold shaped like a child's concept of what a boring man looks like. Let's carry on with the interview. Go on.
I don't understand how he won the leadership election every time I think about it.
No, Shash, let me tell you really quickly, because it's going to be relevant later, that he won the leadership election because he was running against two women, and he put in his campaign slogan the word authority, which is in my opinion, as someone who thinks about politics a fair amount, my professional opinion, cheating. It is cheating for a man to put authority in his slogan if he's running against two women. That's just cheating. All right. So we will get on to like stuff beyond his answers about trans people, and like when he starts talking about how much the Labour Party cares about women, he ran against two women and put authority in his slogan. All right, let's fucking carry on.
The Lost the Pot says, I'm not anti-trans, and I believe that people should be able to live their lives in whichever gender they feel most comfortable. But I am pro.
I'm not anti-trans, but we got it. It was there. We got the but. All right.
Women's rights. And I believe in sex segregation in certain circumstances, toilets, hospitals, changing rooms, sports, etc. How will you uphold...
Hey, Shash, have you ever had someone challenge you in the bathroom?
Not yet.
No, let's not bother with yet right now for a second. I haven't. I never have.
Yeah.
I've had so many cis women chat with me, have a cute gal time, discuss makeup, be like, oh, it's gross in here, or whatever. Like, I've never had someone challenge me in the bathroom. No one cares.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's just not real. We just spend a lot of time like litigating the bathroom discussion over and over again, and I think that's something we like leave out quite often.
What's really frustrating?
Real?
Yeah, what's really frustrating is that we've already like been through this. Like we've already did all of this hard work in 2010 with the Equality Act. There is already provisions in the Equality Act where, like this, like if that is an issue, there can be action taken. Like there, and it's been done. Like it has been used. It's been tried in court and tested. Like it is working. It works as a framework currently. Like there is no reason for us to change it. And the idea that, like, for example, this interview is bringing up, and what Keir Starmer won't do, I imagine, is say that this has already been defined by law. We do not need to relitigate this, because if he did say that, it would push the interviewer to bring up the Equality Act 2010, and inevitably show their true colours of we want to repeal the Equality Act, because there are petitions going around right now by the anti-trans lot of them wanting to repeal or change or reform the Equality Act so it excludes trans people specifically. And it's transparent and it's frankly disgusting that
Sunak's government right now are talking about deliberately gutting trans protections out of the Equality Act. It's a very deliberate thing, and an opposition party, which in our democracy is what the Labour Party acts as, should be defending us from that. I'm a little bitter because I recently made a video on TikTok. I tick now and I talk. Where I said that trans people can't feel safe voting for the Labour Party, and just basically saying that the Labour Party should do more for trans people. And I've got a lot of replies that are like, so you want the Tories to win then? You want everyone to just starve and freeze? You want them to just carry on? And no, I said that the Labour Party should do more for trans people.
The idea that like somehow trans people are completely excluded from also starving and freezing, like, come on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've had those comments too. I've had some people with awful lib brain commenting like, "I'm trans, and I think the much more important issue is the cost of living crisis." And I'm like, well, the one thing that would stop the cost of living crisis in this country is nationalizing energy, which Keir Starmer is against, staunchly against, because he's a Blairite ghoul.
In fact, he went so far to what was it like? We'll have a public option energy company. So not like energy supplier, public option energy company. So it'd be like a profit-making business for the government. In theory, assuming they make a profit.
Yeah, he'll walk all the way up there, all the way up to the like just invisible like fucking cling film force field of neoliberalism, and just press himself against it, press his entire hammy body against the fucking force field of neoliberal thought until he's just pink and do nothing. Can't cross it. He can't, because he doesn't understand how it's holding him in. It's amazing.
I
Tia
honestly
said in
think
chat that there are a lot of videos of men coming into women's restrooms to attack cis women, and I just want to highlight this for a second. When I'm saying about it not being real, obviously there are places where like the climate has been created of transphobia, that this shit is happening, and it's happening to more cis women than trans women. Just like there are, like, I'm 6'2", and there are more cis women taller than me than there are trans women. End of sentence. Like, whatever fucking feature of transness, of like potential difference that you think is, and that applies to whatever feature that you think that like transphobes think mark trans women out as different from cis women. There are just so many more cis women.
Yeah.
That there are always going to be more cis women who are more that thing than there are trans women at all. And that goes for policing gender as well. So it's always going to be more cis women who are getting fucking attacked by transphobes. Because fuck. Anyway. Completely flattening his dick and balls against the force field of neoliberalism. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Correct.
Oh.
All right. Great.
Let's continue with this.
With that image in our mind, let's
imagine Keir Starmer's doing this in this video. Maybe it'll bring some joy.
Okay, the question was, I'm not anti-trans, but let's carry on. No, wait, what was actually the question?
I think it was
Sports,
sex segregated facilities.
How will you
that was
Yes,
uphold
that's right.
the right to have single-sex spaces while simultaneously proposing legislation that will allow any male human to gain legal recognition as female through statutory declaration?
I'm a big believer in safe spaces. When we first did our Mumsnet interview, I was Director of Public Prosecutions. I spent 5 years
nice cop of it.
working hard on
Yeah. Nothing but respect for the boys in blue. Right, let's go.
issues involving women who'd been subjected to, and girls subjected to, sexual violence, and feel very, very strongly that there should be safe spaces, as provided for under the Equalities Act passed by a Labour government.
Was it in women's bathrooms, Keith? Was it in women's bathrooms? Did the scary assailants dress up like women to sneak into women's bathrooms, because that's the only way you can get into women's bathrooms if you're a scary cis man who wants to attack women by pretending to be a woman? That's the only way. Is that what happened, Keith? Is it?
And let's be clear, for 99.9 whatever percent of women, it's all a matter of biology, and we all understand that. Labour Party's championed women's rights for a very, very long time. If you look at all the changes in the law that have brought us greater equality, they've got the Labour Party stamped all over them, and that's...
What does he mean by that?
I don't know.
99 point whatever percent of women, it's all a matter of biology. So
What?
So I'm genuinely just trying to pause his gibberish for a second here. And I'm trying to say, if what I think he's saying is trans women are within the group of women, right? And 99% of women are cis women, right? And so for cis women, it's all a matter of biology, is what he's saying. Like he's saying he's saying that for 99 point whatever % of women, cis women, it's all womanhood is all a matter of biology. How is that not immediately recognized as a just deeply, horrifyingly misogynistic thing to say? Like, do you have a different understanding of what he's saying there? Do you, like, is there a different way to... Nat's nodding
don't
here
know.
as my token cis woman off screen. She doesn't get to be on camera because, you know, because I don't support natal females. But, like, this space is not friendly to natal females. But the... like, there's no other... is there... What else is he trying to say? Like, he's trying to say...
I don't...
Let me just quickly... Again,
Yeah, rewind a little.
Have brought us greater equality. They've got the Labour Party stamped all over them, and that's...
What?
Sorry.
Oh, what the... What?
Just enjoying Keir Starmer's stamping motion.
Is not only our past, it's our future. Obviously, you know, there are some people who don't identify with the gender they're born into. I'm not going to just disrespect them and pretend they don't exist, and that's why we need to modernise the legislation that we've got. But that can be done respecting, you know, safe spaces, etc., which are very, very important. That could be done at
I need to hear it
the
again.
Equalities Act passed by a Labour government.
Legal recognition
Okay,
as
I just specifically want to try the 99% thing again.
female through statutory declaration.
I'm a big believer in safe spaces. When we first did our Mumsnet interview, I was Director of Public Prosecutions. I spent 5 years working hard on issues involving women who'd been subjected to, and girls subjected to, sexual violence, and feel very, very strongly that there should be safe spaces, as provided for under the Equalities Act passed by a Labour government. And, you know, and let's be clear, for 99.9 whatever
Let's be clear.
% of women, it's all a matter of biology, and we all understand that. Labour Party is championing.
Yeah, that is such biological essentialist rhetoric.
If you look at...
Yeah, no, I can't. I really, truly cannot see a different way of understanding what he's saying there, other than, for trans women, their gender identity is defined by something. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
For cis women, it is all a matter of biology.
That is...
Okay, I've joked about this, but Nat, do you want to come on for a second and just talk about how your womanhood is defined? Because I'm just curious if it's all a matter of biology to you.
I want to say that, like, first of all, that question that she just asked him should not have been allowed to lie like that, because she's literally calling trans women men in the question.
She says males who want to identify as females.
Yeah, and she's talking about people with legal recognition. So even, you know, she's stating people who are legally recognized as women,
Yeah.
calling them males.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about that at all. He's trying to allay her fears. She's just stated she's an open transphobic bigot who doesn't believe that trans women are women and believes that they shouldn't be in her spaces. Categorically.
No,
There's no like playing around the edges of it.
I believe that to be the premise of what's happening
Exactly,
right now,
yeah.
But he says for 99%
he
of
doesn't
women.
say anything to interrupt that. And then, he says that, for 99% of women, it's all...
So your womanhood is defined by your vagu.
My vagu.
And your ability to have a baby.
When I go to the toilet,
and your chromosomes.
I typically show people my vagu
you
before I
whip
go
it
to
out.
the toilet. Just so they...
What about your chromosomes?
that
Do
Give
you
them a
shed-
peek of the hoo-ha.
Biology.
And as Shash is saying now, do you get a little microscope slide out and they
Show
have
my
the,
chromosomes,
obviously like being the gender bouncer at the exclusive club that is the women's piss hole to piss and shit in.
This is...
they need to examine your chromosomes before you can get in.
This is why I rarely go to the toilet, actually, because there's only a very brief period of time where your chromosomes and your cells are actually lined up in that XX formation, and that's during mitosis. The rest of the time, they're just like a garbled mess inside the cell. It's a very brief window of time that happens infrequently.
But you do. But I mean, you
so
have.
I only go to the toilet.
But you do have female instincts, so you do know when that time is.
Yes.
When you're feeling particularly XX.
Yes.
So that's when you go.
Well, see, it's different for every cell in the body. So actually, I guess, and sometimes it just has to
I'm
go
sorry,
home.
Nat.
Sometimes
I'm
you
feeling
just have to go home,
Yeah.
with all this new information on what it means to be a woman. I think I feel dysphoric, and now, now I'm like, Damn,
Well,
how am I?
This is why I didn't want to have her on. Like she always.
Yeah,
does
how
this.
am I peeing too often? Is that the
Yeah.
problem?
It is
Am
the
I?
pee. The pee is the problem. Yeah, I'm realizing that actually. Yeah.
I'm realizing
Yeah.
that I'm not carrying a fake slide of like
Mm.
XX chromosomes, so I can
Yeah,
get away with it.
I would like the Labour Party to add a policy to give me XX chromosomes, not in my body, but just some to carry around with me,
I think
so that I can identify as female.
I think
That's
Keir
what I care
Starmer
about.
has said in his manifesto that he's going to start a service funded by taxpayers' money, obviously, that fits an electron microscope in front of
Yeah.
every women's bathrooms to check
Yeah.
people's chromosomes.
And it's automatic because you wouldn't want to have
Yeah.
to pay. I mean, under a neoliberal government, you wouldn't want to have to like pay a person to do
No.
that part. That's a
And
that's a
obvious-
volunteer position. That's a public.
Obviously, it
partnership.
won't be government
You're-
workers. We'll contract a
giving-
private company.
No, exactly. I mean,
obviously, because
so
they'll do better.
firstly, you contract a private company to develop the transgender detector, right? And then that gets fitted to the door of every women's bathroom, but only women's bathroom because we don't really care what happens in men's bathrooms. Men's bathrooms are basically the same as prison, and it's fine whatever kind of violence or sexual assault happens in there. We only care about women's bathrooms, and then. Additionally to the transgender detector, we will also have a volunteer position open, and that's called consensus politics. That's allowing any volunteers to come with whatever kind of weapons they want to make the space more secure for women.
Just like those people who secured those early male voting booths.
Yeah, exactly.
Those lovely
yeah.
people.
Exactly. We want guys like that who care about society, about democracy, about protecting women. That's what we want. Right, let's see what else Keith has to say. Let's just quickly check in with chat because, again, I don't want to miss out on any Keir Starmer roasts. They are very important to me. What's going on? Tia says, God damn it, Nat is so smart. Yeah, it's true. She's the smartest person I know. Quick bar body test in order to do a piss, yeah.
Every time you go to the toilet, they have to bury you for 200 years and then look at your skeleton to make sure you're using the right one. That's correct.
they don't, yeah, they actually don't have a microscope. They have an archaeologist. And then they look at whether your hips were widened by the presence of estrogen during your life.
They get one of those
happens to trans women too. And then you're allowed to pee. Yeah, that's right.
They get one of those fake fetuses and they place it in the pelvic area and it fits. They're whamming.
Yeah. And then they get one of those fake fetuses and they put it into a suit and make it wear a poppy, and that's Keir Starmer. Let's carry on.
But all the changes in the law that have brought us greater equality, they've got the Labour Party stamped all over them, and that is not only our past, it's our future. Obviously, there are some people who don't identify with the gender they're born into. I'm not going to just disrespect them and pretend they don't exist, and that's why we need to modernise the legislation that we've got. But that can be done respecting, safe spaces, etc., which are very, very important. That can be done at the same time as championing women's rights. And
with little hands.
We absolutely need that now. If you look at, the government has crashed the economy, and guess what? Women are disproportionately impacted. So we need a Labour government coming in, not only to
talk about
what we have done, but to champion women's rights as we go forward.
So you believe
women are disproportionately affected by crashing the economy because biologically, that can't be it. Hang on. But cis women, it is all about biology. So hang on. No. Something doesn't quite. Could Keir Starmer explain why women are disproportionately affected by the Tories hurting the economy? Could he do that? Could he maybe do that in a way that I would really prefer if he reconciled it with his earlier comment that for 99% of women, their womanhood, I'm adding that quote in there because that's, I believe, was what he was trying to allude to, is all about biology.
How dare you talk about Sir Keith Starmer and expect him to have a well-based foundation of reasoning? How dare you?
I don't expect anything Keith Starmer ever says to be based. Right, let's go.
that there's a way of making the legislation such that it can maintain safe spaces and give trans people what they need in terms of, recognizing their gender.
Trans people is such a vile, worm-like, spineless, cowardly, cocked, slimy, skunk thing that TERFs say when they are just talking about trans women. Because they're not talking about trans men. She isn't talking about trans men right then. They're talking about women's spaces. They're talking about women's bathrooms. Keith correctly identified that that's what they were talking about and talked about how for 99% of women it's all about biology. And then she's like, trans people, this question isn't about trans men. You're not talking about trans men or non-binary people. You're talking about trans women. And it's just like this was really crystallized for me when I was watching Helen Staniland. No, it was Helen Joyce. Sorry, it was what? Too many Helens. The government should introduce a quota for the number of Helens, ideally. Helen Joyce with not Graham. No, was Graham Linehan there? Possibly with Baroness Nicholson and Kelly J. Keane, aka Posey Parker, right? And Helen got so excited when Posey Parker was about to speak, and she goes she has these 4 words, or she's gonna say, it's probably like trans women are men or something like that,
Yeah.
I don't think she said the 4 words, which, by the way, having a number of words that you allude to is a good
Very
look.
normal
Extremely
behavior.
not reminiscent of anything terrifying.
No.
But it's just this extremely playground, absolutely infantile shit to be trying to find a million ways to edge around misgendering people, right? You're all in awe of your fashy friend Posey Parker, who's just willing to go out and say it. Oh, she has these 4 words. And then you spend hours of your life trying to devise different ways to say trans people instead of trans women, or whatever other way to misgender people without just doing it. It's just so spineless. It's just that I've spent a long time researching fascists, and time again, when there's a guy who believes all the Nazi shit and refuses to say any of it because he's trying to appeal to liberals and win them over, and a guy who's just a Nazi and has a swastika tattoo, I literally respect this guy more, because he's not just he's disgusting, he's evil. This guy has no fucking spine. It's just the sliminess. It's just the pathetic. It's to again say it's playgroundish, right? It's like a kid who's just standing there while the have you seen the Stuart Lee bit about Top Gear and Richard Hammond just being the kid who's standing there while Jeremy Clarkson is just being the bully, just kicking the shit out of the weaker kids and just standing there laughing, but too afraid to fucking do anything himself. I just it's just the spinelessness. It just really gets under my skin.
It's clearly one of those things where they feel that they gain a sense of power from dehumanizing us or stripping us from our gender. Yeah, it's it makes them I think they think it's this I think ever since Jordan Peterson had that whole thing where they'll send me to prison for misgendering someone and that kind of thing. And ever since that, these transphobes have constantly been oh, they'll send me to prison for misgendering someone. Ooh, and it's
Yeah.
they're and they'll do it, and they'll be ooh, I did it. Look at me, how badass am I? I'm gonna tell all the kids at school. It's literally that.
It's just amazing that the rule breaking direct action for them is misgendering a trans person. Where for someone else it might be stealing food so you can feed hungry people living in poverty, or squatting a building so that people have a place to sleep. They're I'm breaking the rules. I'm breaking the rules so ideology doesn't win.
It's their form of direct action, I think, and it's kind of pathetic.
So, Gola from below us says someone needs to edit martial arts whooshes every time Keir answers a question.
with his hand
there's
movements, like
there's a very good Vic Berger edit there where he's
I really liked it. He was like doing the discs. That was very cool.
DJ Starmer.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah,
I have seen a battle rap TikTok edit of Starmer at PMQs, and I had diarrhea for a week after watching it. It just did something to my body.
I told you that, like, the whole thing when he was talking about his dead friend and stuff, and was like, oh yeah, we used to go on wild parties, and just the thought of like Keir Starmer being a wild party boy while also being a cop is just so oxymoronic. And it's just like, why was he friends with this dude? Like, because the dude that he was talking about was like,
wow,
you know,
thanks,
like,
Gibbo,
human
for supplying
rights
that
lawyer.
ounce for the Mandem. That was amazing. I'm gonna blaze it with all of the boys, and I will be locking you up in 2 years when you're brought in front of the Crown Prosecution Service. Wow.
And I'm talking about his cult thing. Because he should be well aware of the fact that rape in this country and rape and sexual assault in this country does not reach prosecution. Like, we, like 99% of cases do not reach prosecution because either lawyers are too scared or cops tell victims not to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, just a straightforward peek at the British justice system as it exists. Like, and people in the prosecution service look like this, and talk like this, and think like this, and then your experience on the ground. Like, I saw a guy get shoved off his bike, and then the two guys, like, wielding a knife stole his bike, and, like, right outside my house the other day, and then, like, the victim, like, called the police. We were trying to comfort him, help him, like, clean up his wounds and stuff. Then the pigs got there, and one of them got out and was like, "We've sent 2 armed units to where you said that they were last headed." And he was holding, like, this huge automatic rifle, right? And it's just like, obviously this is a point that you could just make for all cops, and ACAB 1312 represent in the chat, right? But just like, if you've just been sexually assaulted, like, do you want to see a cop in that moment? Like, do you think they'll help? Because they won't. I mean, the statistics back this up as well. Like you're saying that, like, the vast majority of cases don't get prosecuted, don't get any kind of closure. But even just in the moment, like, is a fucking cop like what you know? Because then you get into the, like, endless anecdotes of people going to police stations and, like, getting sexually harassed by the police officers as they're trying to report getting assaulted and stuff like this. But, you know, go on, sorry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that, like, you know, there's so much that Keir Starmer in his career that he could have done for women and girls, as he puts it.
Women and girls.
Like, that he never brought up upon. Like, this Mumsnet interview would be a great opportunity, for example, to bring that up. But what you hear is about toilets and bathrooms, instead of, you know, like, the fact, like, you know, we do not have capacity for people escaping domestic violence in this country, for example. Like, or how the housing crisis is letting down the most vulnerable people, meaning women and girls in this case. You know, like, like, if you cared about these issues deeply, and you have this experience working with this system, you would be an extremely valuable opposition leader, because you would have so many things to say about how that system should change to improve, because systems can always improve, is the thing. Even assuming it was not as horrifyingly Kafkaesque and dog shit as it is, you would have so much to say. And him just having nothing to say just goes to show, like, how much he just loves being top cop. Like, he just loves the system as it currently exists. It benefits him at the end of the day. No, but, like, it benefits him. Like, he reached the position of the head of the Labour Party on a platform of absolutely nothing, basically, if I remember correctly. I don't remember a single thing from his platform that was left-leaning, I guess, according to the Labour Party.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of promises that he never kept. Like, and he gets away with it because he's just the higher ups of the Labour Party think he's an electable individual because he's a white dude in a suit, like, and it's like and I think like I can't remember someone
Well,
pointed it
I'll say
out.
this for this factors into his like his overall popularity and his career so far as Labour leader. He was Mr. Remain. He was like so much to the Liberals whose like single issue is Brexit, right? And this is a constituency that we have to account for in electoral politics, and is part of why talking about electoral politics in Britain is such a nightmare and such a fucking waste of time. Is that there are a lot of people whose only thing is that we should have a second referendum and rejoin the EU. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm not saying that it wouldn't immediately benefit a ton of people. But like there are a whole bunch of people it's the only thing they can think of as changing anything. And it's literally what the reason that they backed him into office as the Labour leader. And then he pretty quickly ruled out the possibility of a second referendum because it's not happening. It's not gonna happen. And like, it's just like yeah, he has no appeal to anyone.
The reality is that it's not going to be a referendum if it does happen. It's just going to be we're going to join the EU or like the single market or like customs union or whatever. Like that, because at the end of the day, like everyone who has a brain cell about like how our economy is tanking basically is realized that we have screwed ourselves because we've excluded ourselves from these big capitalist cartels, willingly.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. The imperial core is organized into big blocks, right? There are about 50 countries pretending to be one country that calls itself the United States of America, right? Then Canada gets kind of a free ride into more or less the same trade block. Fucking Europe is trying to do the same thing with about 30 countries trying to act more or less like one big block, right? And that's the EU. And it's like we just left it. We just had all this trade right fucking there. That's like the basis of our entire existence.
And I find it frustrating because like people always say like, oh, we had a referendum, and it's like we had an election with such ill-informed people, like ill-informed voters, like we were lied to, we were told lies, we weren't told, like, for example, Wales relies on a lot of EU funding for some of the stuff we have, some of our basic things like libraries and like council buildings and stuff that require EU funding to operate. And because that is disappearing, we are like looking at those like essential institutions closing down and possibly never coming back.
Absolutely.
because the government refuses to fund Wales more.
Yeah.
Because we're just seen as like this vestige. So,
as I say,
and it's like
I'm just describing that there is a political constituency of people who it's the only thing that matters. And as you're saying, like there are plenty of reasons why it matters a lot to a lot of people, but that was like such a huge part of why he got in as Labour leader, and he immediately turned his back on them, like instantly. He doesn't support any kind of change to anything whatsoever. All of his policies are just like what the Tories are proposing, but a bit stricter, because he's run on authority, so he has to be the authority, right? Lorcan says misinformed voters. I do need to say, like, yes, true. An additional note is a lot of people who are still like holding out hope for like we'll get back into the EU or whatever. A lot of people who are still to this day like very much all about Brexit as their entire kind of thing. Kind of go kind of beyond misinformed voters, because I remember having some conversations with people in my family and some other people who feel this way, and it kind of like really turning their heads when I said, you're imagining people who have the same set of information as you and have come to different conclusions, not people who were given a different set of information to you. And like misinformed voters, like you think that this narrative of like the country being lied to is very important to people, but actually like this genuinely kind of has really like blown the minds of some liberals that I've talked to about this, because there's an essentialization at play where like a lot of liberals now are just just want to conceptualize Tories as just evil. And that's like the trick of electoral politics, is if you can make everyone think that we're basically sitting here and next door that way and next door that way, but maybe there's someone like you 2 doors down, right? But next door both ways, there's someone evil who doesn't believe anything you believe, right? If you love women's rights, they love transgender rights, right? And they're opposite things. And if you love Brexit, they love the EU or whatever, right? And these are incompatible views, and they are deep down metaphysically like different to you and want different things. Like, that's how you keep the population locked into the idea that there's this like struggle of electoral politics that they should care so fucking much about, when actually, if they realize that like we all want the exact same fucking things, which is for everyone to be able to eat, everyone to get education, fucking travel, Wi-Fi, healthcare, everyone wants the same fucking things. Everyone. Then you quickly come to the conclusion that these are dickheads with square faces and cheap suits who look like they're made out of spam, who are lying to us on purpose to keep us oppressed. Should we carry on with
Do you think they put him on a red couch so that he wouldn't look so red in comparison? Was that an intentional thing?
I do remember that. I do remember that like from home thing he did during the pandemic. He was calling into a news show, and he was in front of a brilliant white, like paper white wall, and he looked so red. He was wearing a white shirt as well, and I think it was just like a white balance issue, but he looked so fucking red.
Yeah.
Everything but his politics. All right, let's go.
I do. And I think when it comes to sport, obviously that would be an area for sporting bodies. But I believe in integrity and fairness in sport, and that means that, biological women need to be, safe.
Biological women, that's cool. Okay, cheap shot. This man looks like he knows a lot about sport. Go on, Chash, what are you going to say?
Another point of where like it's just straight up misinformation that somehow endogenous testosterone is some reason makes you better at sport when it's not. It's not. It doesn't work like that across all sports because
no, it doesn't.
I don't know who told you that like shooting a bow requires no testosterone or whatever. And like it also doesn't account for like cis women who also have naturally high testosterone levels, like Caster Semenya. And so like he is literally now saying word for word like language that is said by transphobes in a way to like and what he's also doing is letting sporting bodies decide when they've also been transphobic. Like, the reality is the science doesn't back up what transphobes say about trans people in sport.
Yeah.
And they always argue about fairness in sports and how like, men are going into women's sports or whatever.
But
and
as
it's like,
you're saying, to be clear, that the entire fairness in sport thing is on an axis of testosterone, estrogen. Like, that's it. Like, that's the only consideration.
Yeah, that is literally the consideration that all this comes down to in most arguments I've seen.
Yeah.
And the science doesn't back them up. And then the aspect of and it's the audacious belief that some reason highly competing men who are extremely competitive but do not quite reach the medal status for some reason switch to the women's category in order to reach the gold medal is absolutely ridiculous, because like that's just not how sport works. I'm not talking about like, club sport or like like your local PB soccer or something. I'm talking about like competitive sport. The reality is, if you're from a gender minority, regardless of like a woman or trans, you are going to get less funding, less sporting opportunities than a man is. Like
because frankly, who watches the women's football or the women's basketball?
Exactly. Like,
right.
There is more money to be made in men's sport, and that's why men's sport has so much funding and why there are so many more male competitors.
Yeah,
like,
there's a deeply misogynistic, patriarchal framing to the entire thing that has to do with the social role of gender, but Keith has already stated that he believes that for cis women, it's all about biology.
Yeah, I was talking actually with the TSN lot about how I believe it was figure skating was one of those things where um like they let women compete, but they were almost as good as the men, and so they banned them and gave them a separate category. And it's like
Yeah.
you do realize the whole point of segregation in sport isn't about fairness, segregation by
No.
sex,
It's
regardless.
to stop men getting
Is
embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about male pride at the end of the day, and that's what's so frustrating. Like people who talk about sport, like Keir Starmer and these people
Yeah.
in this room who don't have a stake in competitive sport.
Yeah.
Like the reality is, if you talk to even cis sports people from competitive sport,
Yeah.
they will tell you that like there is just not enough funding. We don't need to be worrying about if trans people will be entering our sport. We need to be funding more women to get into sport
Yeah.
regardless. Like if you want to have this argument that men quotation marks are taking over women's sport, well, put more women in sport. There's a simple
Right.
solution.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that there's like also I think that he's like talking himself in circles scientifically speaking because he's
Yeah.
talking about he's said it's all about biology for cis women, right? So he's just refusing. He's just throwing the entire social role of gender out the window, right? There's going to be no understanding of patriarchy as a social system, right? So this is what I was saying when I was saying like, could he please explain how women are disenfranchised, like more affected by the economy being bad? Could he please explain that? Right, and maybe then he would talk about the economy is bad, so domestic violence increases because like in relation to that, so that's an effect on women, and then he would be able to ferret his way around like a good politician around and he gets a little head pat from Margaret Thatcher around having to acknowledge that there is such a thing as society, but now he's saying biological women, right, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like if a biological woman, the entire discussion about trans people in sport, right, is this assumption, like you say, that like more testosterone, more good are at all sports, right? And so biological women are all worse at all sports because, right, and this is all inference, but like this is very inescapable inference because it's the way that the only conversation that's allowed by the British media about trans people in sports it works, right?
And
A biological woman,
yeah.
in this definition, is someone with high estrogen and low testosterone, right? And most trans women take a testosterone blocker and take estrogen. And I am a biological woman by this definition, right?
My testosterone is lower than my cis wife. Like
Right.
like a bit
Right.
like
No, exactly.
the reality is that like hormones somehow like dictate how good you are at sport or or like how much you are a woman or a man or
Right.
gender.
Right.
It's like and I think this expands to like the wider idea of being trans. There's a common misconception by cis people that being trans all it means is surgery, a frock, and some hormones. And it's like, no, there's a lot more to being trans than just taking hormones. Hormones help manifest the physical changes we want to see.
Well,
But like,
Shash, can
if
I
they
interrupt you? I know I'm interrupting you
Yeah.
constantly, and I would just do it without asking anyway, because it's my fucking stream. You hanger on, you fucking parasite. No, I wanted to say, you're saying about hormones right now, and I just want to be clear that like the vast majority of cis people involving themselves in conversations about trans people don't even understand hormones as a concept. Like TERFs maybe, right? And we overexpose ourselves to TERFs, so we get in all sorts of endlessly tedious arguments where TERFs will like show you a study that they're claiming proves that like estrogen causes dementia, and they don't see anything misogynistic about that at all, but they're like estrogen causes dementia, and then you look at the study and it's like, and the study is saying that like some of the women in their study about menopausal cis women taking HRT has like something to do with dementia, and like that it's this complicated fucking nonsense they've tried to cherry pick into this thing. Like we've overexposed ourselves to TERFs, right? But the vast majority of cis people don't even really get that trans people take hormones or the effects that hormones have on the body. Like, I was saying this to my trans partner the other day, that like I do sometimes wonder if I'm walking down the street and a cis person clocks me as trans, if they think my tits are real. Like, whether they think that I've had implants. Because, like, again, like, I agree completely about, like, surgery and a frock, right? That so many cis people think that this is all that being trans is. But I think so many cis people don't even know that trans people take hormones, or that it's, like, the kind of most common thing.
That's probably true.
Like, defines the trans experience. I'm not trying to be transmedicalist here at all. I'm trying to say by numbers that like most trans people, if they do nothing else, like take hormones. I mean, obviously like socially transition, but like take hormones, right? And that like it has effects on the body. And so again, this like when you get into like biological woman in a discussion about sport that necessarily is about, do you have more good at sport chemical in your body or less good at sport chemical in your body? These fucking people don't even know that trans women like would be on this end, not this end of their singular one-line spectrum.
It's also so like funny because like anyone who like has ever done like even mildly interested in the world of competitive sport and doping and drugs and stuff know that there is so much more efficient ways of getting an edge on your opponent, like they did. I think it was it the 2014 Winter Olympics where the Russians Olympians doped, but they had like this in the testing center. They had a little cubby hole where they'd switch the piss.
Incredible.
So like there is already like high state level like cheating and drugging of athletes. I don't think they're pumping full of people full of estrogen and testosterone to get that competitive edge.
Good lord. Good lord. Edging your opponent and swapping piss? I might have more in common with athletes than I thought. That's such a dumb joke. I wanted to say that this framing of biological woman, which again, this is inference, but like, that's basically low testosterone, high estrogen, would include me, and would not, you brought up Casta Semenya before, would not include Casta Semenya as a biological woman. And this is because Keir Starmer doesn't want to say the word cis. He doesn't want to say the word cis in this interview. And, you know, maybe he would say it in an interview with trans people or with a trans rights group or with Stonewall or whatever. But, like, he's trying deliberately to avoid it. And so he says things that are gibberish because, like, bigots invent terms to make themselves more comfortable, not terms for use. Like, not terms for, like, clear, concise language to actually, like, be usable, you know? And so biological woman exists as a term only to, like, comfort bigots. You know, also, biological woman. And just, like, looking at a dog and being like, that's a biological woman.
I love
looking at the coloration patterns on two different tropical fish and being like, I can tell this one is a biological man and this one is a woman. Like, what's a biological woman?
Yeah. I really like Thomule York, I hope I said that right. Open all categories, allow all doping. Let's see what that's the limits of human biology are.
I mean, wish, fucking honestly.
Yeah, if like state level, you know, agencies didn't exist where like they push humans to like breaking points already, I would completely agree. Because that's hilarious.
Let's stop having a conversation about transgender sports and start having a conversation about transhuman sports. I really want to see a dude with like Blade Runner legs who's had his fucking all his limbs replaced to be a better athlete for no other reason, who's like pumped full of steroids, right? Who's
Anime
trying to
is
just like break
doing this for
the
years
land speed
and then
record on foot. Like that's what I want to fucking see. Come on.
I wanna see a dude like run faster than a car. Like,
yes,
legit.
Yes. Yes. Let's fucking go. Let's have the Olympics introduce like a card juggling category. Let's have them introduce just like digging through concrete to who can get to the underground bunker faster.
I bet
and
you
then
in
use your
ancient
new cybernetic brain to like solve a Rubik's cube in record time once you get there.
I bet you in ancient Greece when they had the Olympics they had an edging competition and we're
Oh,
all
absolutely.
suckers for not knowing.
They also had the swapping piss ceremony just before that to begin the
Oh, so
official
maybe
Olympics.
Russia did it as like a throwback.
They were
to
trying to
ancient
respect
Greece.
through tradition.
And if anything, no, I'm not gonna say that sentence.
Okay, let's watch some more Ham. If anyone finds jokes about Keir Starmer's body distasteful, let me remind you that he is a cop. All right, let's go.
Safeguarded in that environment as well. You know, we should have a proper, open, decent, respectful discussion about this. Balances are going to have to be struck, of course they are. But
Keir Starmer would like an open, decent, balanced discussion about this. I would like to say to Keir Starmer, suck my sweaty hog and balls, you cop fucking loser. All right, that's my open, balanced discussion.
This idea of that there's some balanced discussion is so it's bleak that we're still in 2022 and people are still repeating this as if this cis people particularly
I know.
like the cis chair trustee of like Stonewall was saying this as well, like, and I was like,
Yeah.
have you guys existed like in the last month even, you know, like there is no talking to people who are already on the point of I don't want some trans people to exist, because like that's the line they're drawing. Even if they don't want all trans people not to exist, they want some trans people gone. And
yes, absolutely.
if you compromise with that,
Often
you are
starting
letting
with
some
kids,
trans
to
people.
be clear.
Yeah,
Often starting
yeah.
with the most vulnerable trans people possible.
And if you start like trying to come to a compromise, that you are throwing some of the most vulnerable among us under the bus. And like Keir Starmer right now is advocating for that. Like several times during this interview, first time when he said he was like, oh yeah, actually we should basically allow conversion therapy on kids. We should let parents be more involved in their kids' gender if they tell their teachers or whatever. And like it's so frustrating because like literally a few days ago, like he was telling a crowd full of queer and trans people who all clapped for him and stuff, so he knows the response. And that's what frustrates me so much, is that he can go to a meeting like this.
Yes. He's an entirely two-faced, weaselly little slimy fuck. Yes.
Like, I don't know if he was wearing any badges on the stage at the Pink News Award, but it's very telling that he's not wearing any kind of badges except the poppy here. Yes. But like which
again for Americans denotes that politicians in the UK love opium. Carry
on. And
we fought a war for it. We're very proud of opium in this country.
Which war? There's quite a few.
The opium wars.
Ah, okay.
Let me in. If the discussion is open, let me into the open discussion so I can show Keir Starmer my asshole and then leave. That's what I want from an open, balanced, decent discussion.
Do you think his like PR person before this is like, you should wear a trans flag pin and a gender critical pin, like to show that you're on both sides?
I want desperately in discussions of biology to say things like, biologically Keir Starmer has never touched a pussy. Biologically Keir Starmer has never had sex. But I can't say Keir Starmer has never had sex, because we all know that David Cameron fucked a pig.
Do you believe the Labour Party has allowed that discussion, though?
Well, I think that the Labour Party has had that discussion, is having that discussion. That's a very, very good thing. People should take a step back. I actually think there's a huge amount of agreement if we were able to step back. If you read again just the introduction to that question, and I think most people would agree with almost every word of it.
Most people would agree with almost every word of it. Cool. That's good. That's good, isn't
very,
it?
Very normal thing to say to a
good
fascist.
That's really nice. I love that.
Thank you.
I love.
So, a question.
Yeah, just
I love that.
Just really good.
I just love like letting fascist rhetoric be completely normalized
Yeah,
by
it's good.
the leader of the Labour Party. It's very interesting and nice, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Talking about women in politics, really. The Biology Stupid says that given that we've had a conservative,
Username biology is stupid is asking this question. Just to be clear to everyone, we have now reached the end of the trans segment of the interview. I just find Keith's answers pathetic the whole way through, so I wanted to watch a few more. So biology is stupid wanted to ask about women in politics because they're still tough, obviously. But this is a nice and interesting question to have a male leader of the Labour Party answer.
the
Very
Conservative
smart.
Party's third
Who
female Prime
remember
Minister.
beat two
Beat
female
two women
opposition
by,
to his position.
He beat two biological women to get
Yeah.
to his position as leader of the Labour Party.
The Labour
with a
Party, which has
slogan,
historically had very few
zero-
minority leaders.
Zero
Zero.
women as leaders ever. Yeah, very cool. All right.
Until just a few days ago. Is Labour
back
in
a
any
little bit.
position in politics, really? The Biology Stupid says that given that we've had a the Conservative Party's third female Prime Minister, until just a few days ago, is Labour in any position to criticise the Tories on female representation in Cabinet?
Well, look, let me be clear. It's a really good thing that we've had 3 female prime ministers. It's a really good thing we've got our first British Asian prime minister, and that was something I was able to say from the dispatch box on Wednesday. And I meant it because it means a lot. And yes, the Labour Party needs a woman prime minister and needs a woman leader. I'll be first to say that.
So step down then.
Yeah.
So step down then.
This is.
So step down for a woman then.
It's like, can you not see that you? Oh, I hate
So
libs
step down then.
who believe that
and let
they
a
can
woman lead the
advocate for
Labour Party.
change and like platform minority voices, and then be like, actually, but I want to stay on my seat though.
Step down. If you're the first to say, and you're the leader of the Labour Party, and there's probably a general election coming up soon, and you're the first to say we should have a female Labour Prime Minister, step down.
I love that.
Resign, bitch. That's all I have to say. If you are the first to say that, fucking put your money where your mouth is, you liar. just patently a liar in a provable sense. I will go to court on this one. Keir Starmer is a liar on the specific basis that he says he's the first to say there should be a Labour Prime Minister who's a woman. He should step down then. Provably,
Really
by occupying the job that he is in, by taking up women's spaces, right? He could just resign. He could have just not run against 2 women with a slogan that said authority as a man, appealing to misogyny on purpose to beat them. If he cared about women in politics. It's genuinely just... Fucking resign, Keith. Just fucking resign for this and every other reason that you are a terrible leader of the Labour Party. You liar.
He's just. How does he not realize what he says? Does he not? Does he
I have a
not
friend-
realize that he's advocating for himself to resign?
I have a
by
friend
saying.
I have a friend who's living in not a squat. It used to be a squat in a couple of decades ago, and it's the warehouses. And back when it was a squat, there was this guy who was living there, Jason, and he became the property guardian when it shifted to a guardianship. And then through administrative changes, he's become the owner of the property, and now he's their landlord. Right? He was a squatter, and now he's a landlord, but he's like a cool landlord. He used to sell weed there. He still sells weed there to his tenants.
Don't tell Keir Starmer.
They put kill all landlords graffiti up, and they told him about it, and he was like, yeah. That's Keir Starmer. That's Keir Starmer is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I do actually want to hear some of these answers because they are very funny to me.
Luckily, what we've got at the moment, happily,
His voice is so bad.
I've got really powerful, strong women in the shadow cabinet in very, very important roles, and they would be in those roles going into, if we were to win election, running the country, whether that's Angela Rayner as deputy, whether it's Bridget Phillipson as shadow education secretary, whether it's Yvette Cooper as shadow home office,
she's here.
and Rachel.
Yeah.
They did not introduce her, I don't think,
Oh,
really.
I skipped the beginning.
Oh,
of the video,
you did
that's
skip.
why-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I should have said this is Bridget, whose last name I've forgotten, who's the shadow education secretary, and she's here.
She's got a really small poppy, which Jess pointed out in the chat, which is very disrespectful.
It is really disrespectful. She should take more opiates to show that she respects British culture. When will the shadow education secretary do what the people are calling for and get addicted to codeine?
Yeah,
Shadow
the reason-
Chancellor. So we do.
Sorry, Shash.
The reason I stopped taking opiates as an ex-opiate addict is not because it was bad for me. It's because it's British nationalism.
Yeah, it's because you disrespect British culture is the thing.
Yeah,
you just don't respect all of the soldiers who fought and died in the Opium Wars.
Have powerful women, but let me be clear: the Labour Party, needs to elect a woman leader, and we need a woman prime minister.
Okay, and Sally Harry says on the same subject, why do you think it is that the Labour Party's never had a female leader? Is the Labour Party institutionally sexist?
No.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at the Labour Party,
The answer is yes.
look at
No, Keir, you're wrong. It's yes. There was a report that you kind of suppressed that pointed out how sexist and racist your party was. Did you forget?
How is that any other answer? Zero female leaders.
What do you think the reason is that there's never been a female leader of the Labour Party? I, as a man who ran against two women with a slogan of authority. I don't know.
You beat two women with very good platforms who had more
politically
like
diverse platforms, to be clear. Like Rebecca Long Bailey was
Yeah.
very much following in the steps of Corbyn. And why am I blanking? Was it Yvette Cooper? No. I thought Nat was googling for me, but she's just typing in chat. But there was a much more centrist position as well.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't an issue of politics, was it, Keith? It was an issue of not wanting a woman to be leader. But you're the first to say that there should be. Resign. Fucking resign. Fucking resign. You spam
always
man. Fucking resign. Fucking
so
resign,
funny.
you alternative to the Wicker Man on an island where they worship spam as their deity. Poured into a fucking cheap-ass suit, wearing an oversized poppy because you respect the troops so much. You scumbag. Fucking hell. Resign. Alright, I'm done yelling. For now.
Parliamentary Labour Party, just to take the obvious group in Parliament, we've got more women than men. Look at the shadow cabinet, we've got more women than men. Look at who we champion.
I actually love
beat
strong
sexism,
women.
guys.
I love to have strong women around me. The Labour Party is actually a femdom party. We have more women now standing on me and around me and spitting down on me. And that's good. Because before it was different to that, and now it's like this, which is better. And if you see, I would step down and resign, but then I wouldn't be surrounded by these strong women all the time.
You can't step down because he's being stepped on. You see? See?
I would rather offer my platform and my face for women to step on, to elevate them up so I can look up at them, rather...
But it can't be sex work, though, because that's illegal.
That would, yeah, and as top cop, I do just hate all evil criminals.
We've done so much
wait.
work on equality. And if the single most important issue at the moment, the economy, impacting women more than others, and this government has just crashed the economy. So if you want to look for which is the party that's sort of
But you're not going to
bearing
expand,
down
my dude?
on women and
Why would he? Why would he? It's biology, isn't it, Shash? Biologically, the economy affects women more than men. Biologically, when the pound goes down in value, women are hurt more. Because of biology. I guess that user was right. Biology is stupid.
actually holding them back. It's the government, because almost everything that they do, everything that they mess up, and they've absolutely damaged the economy, impacts women disproportionately. So that's amongst the very many reasons that we need to get rid of them and usher in a Labour government.
Okay.
This is more of a shitpost than anything else. But his answer there sounded like he was saying they need to get rid of women. Can I just replay that for a second?
Everything that they do, everything that they mess up, and they've absolutely damaged the economy, impacts women disproportionately. So that's amongst the very many reasons that we need to get rid of them and usher in a Labour
It
government.
does! No! He did say he didn't know! I'm sorry, but the way the language flowed there does imply that he wanted to get rid of women.
It affects women more than men, so we should get rid of them. Sorry, that's just nonsense. On the issue of authority, this is a digression, so I'll just pull back from the video for a second and just get back to my little late night chat show conversational style. On the Starmer running on a platform of authority, his entire politics is in response to the Tories has been like, they propose this, but they're doing it badly, right? Like every single time he's just like, they're doing it badly, and he can never question the nature of how something exists in the first place. Never it shouldn't be this way, right? We can see this with he won't nationalize energy, right? He won't say the problem is that it's privatized and it should not be, and that would end the cost of living crisis, right? And I don't know if you've been keeping up with the stuff at the Manston detention center.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, there is a concentration camp of hey Jen. There's a concentration camp. It's called the Manston Detention Center. I call it a concentration camp because it's an immigration processing center where immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers are given numbers to be referred to instead of their names. It's got a capacity of 1,000, but there are currently 4,000 people there. There are children sleeping on flattened cardboard boxes as a bed. There was one kid who said that he wasn't given a change of clothes for 18 days in the wet clothes that he crossed the channel in. People are marched around by security guards, just treated as prisoners. It's people are catching scabies and diphtheria. It's deeply vile, and clearly the issue is how we as a country treat immigrants. Clearly there's a larger issue to do with the imperial core and the imperial periphery, because these are as fucking racists love to point out, they aren't coming here from Switzerland or whatever, right? It's that there are countries in the world that have a severely lower standard of living and whose currencies are fucked over constantly, and who have all of the kinds of host of problems caused by imperialism, and people want to escape from that and get into the imperial core for entirely understandable reasons. And our attitude towards them as a country that's perpetuating imperialism, despite our shrinking global influence, is to treat them like criminals by default, right? And that's all stuff that would be underpinned. You'd have to change the underpinning issue. You'd have to get into how we do things and try and really change that. But Keithtron 4000, programmed by neoliberal scientists in a lab to be as boring as possible, just looks at things and is like, this should be run correctly. This needs more authority behind it. This needs to be done the right way. And he looked at this and he said that Suella Braverman had lost control of Manston, and that was the issue, that they'd lost control.
Middle manager energy, doesn't he?
He said that it was an issue of losing control.
He's you just need better managers. You just need better executives. That's clearly the issue here. We'll do
Scout
it. We'll-
Omniform says, "Hey UK, American here, mistreating immigrants is our thing. Get your own. It's time for Sophie to pull up the walled world map." So no, it's not. It's not your thing. It's an issue of imperialism. Let's just get the walled world map up. I'm just gonna. Why have I not saved this to my computer at this point? Because I'm bringing it up like every fucking stream. So it's an issue that the most policed and militarized borders in the world. I have saved it to my fucking hard drive before. Son of a bitch. All right, let's just move that to a more accessible folder. Walled world. Bingo. Let's just add a cheeky little image source. Wah, 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 image. Oh god, Streamlabs take such a long time to operate. Walled world. Here we go. So, I'm going to put it under Shash there so you can... Yeah, fills the space nicely. So, the walled world. When I talk about the Imperial periphery and the Imperial core, sometimes that's a little hard to imagine what I'm talking about. So why don't you just look at it on a map right here, where 73% of the world's income and 14% of the 14.14% of the world's population exist within these, the most militarized and highly policed borders in the world, and outside of these borders exist 86% of the world's population and only 27% of the world's income, right? This is not to get incredibly pedantic to this person in the chat. Scout Omniform, I am not going after your ass right now. I'm using it as a teachable moment. It being how wrong you are. Yes, America treats immigrants like shit, but Britain was doing it a lot longer. This is fundamentally like the shape of power in the world. And these borders are so policed, and the people who try to cross them are... I know you were joking. I'm joking with you, babe. The people who try to cross them are treated like shit because that's how the shape of power is maintained. They need people on the other side of the border to be exploited and underpaid and have their labor like... oh my god, Shash, why have you frozen?
Yeah.
I thought you were just really enjoying the map.
No.
Right.
It's kind of horrible.
They need to keep people out there and keep
yeah.
people in the Imperial core in here in order to maintain the power dynamic, and that's why people have to be treated like shit constantly, right? In the Schengen zone, right? Like if you have an EU or UK or for that matter American passport, right? You can move around this stuff all pretty easily. Like you might have to do more checks, but if you're from outside of again this then like at every point is another point at which you could be detained, you could be put into a fucking processing center, you could be put into a camp, right? And that's because this is the fundamental nature of the way that like geopolitics is absolutely fucked. Like people who care about the legacy of colonialism need to care about the way that colonialism is still happening very much right now. This is it. This is how it's happening very much right now still. And the treatment of immigrants in Britain is not an isolated incident. It is sickening, but it's not an isolated thing. It's part of a wider pattern. And Keir Starmer could not conceive of that. It would be like asking his robot brain to divide by 0. So all he can say is that they've fucking lost control of the camp. And it's like fucking what's his proposed solution? More control? Hey Mule, thanks for the raid. We're talking about Keir Starmer. It's going really well. As you can see, I've already brought up the walled world map. It happened again. Yeah, he responded to all the fucking shit that's happening at Manston by saying that Suella Braverman's lost control of it, and I just find that deeply sickening, and I just wanted to highlight it because it's just like, fuck,
of all the
man.
things he could have said, you know, like
Yeah.
the human rights abuses. You know, his dead friend
Yeah.
that he talked about was a human rights lawyer.
Jesus
you know that?
Christ. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
He's just like, Sophia's playing politician trash bingus. I am. For those who are just joining, I'm Sophie, this is Shash. We're chatting about Keir Starmer and his interview with the head of Mumsnet, the turf organizing site. And so far we've seen Keith lie some more, lie a bunch more, say turf talking points, lie some more, talk about biological women, say that he would be the first to support there being a Labour Prime Minister who's a woman, but I guess not enough to fucking step down. Just generally just pathetic stuff. Yeah, and he was answering a question about women in politics. Was that what we got up to?
Yes.
Did I
believe so.
miss anything for the summary for the people who've just joined, or should we? Do you want to dive
I
back
don't
in?
think so.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
start back in. Go on.
All right. I'm sorry. I did a Sophie. I just needed everyone to see the world map. It's very important to me. Let's go.
It haunts your
Just one on
dreams.
Brexit.
It does. It haunts my dreams and my waking moments. It never leaves me alone. I need people to see it. It's very important. I'm like the Imperial core and the Imperial periphery, and people are like, "What's that mean though?" And I'm like, "There's a map." All right.
Always, it's never going to go away. New York Christmas says, if, as Prime Minister, there was overwhelming evidence from recognised experts that Brexit had caused significant damage to the UK economy, would you consider re-entering the customs union and the single market?
I think that we've got to make Brexit work, and I think
Oh
all
my
that we've got
God.
at the moment is a government that's got us out of the
He appeals to no one. He has no base.
EU.
Why didn't he just
with the
say yes?
Just say yes.
just say
it's what they want to
yes.
hear. It's what they fucking want to hear.
Literally
you
all you
dumbass.
needed to say.
Like, you're
Like-
here, literally, like, you were just at a fucking LGBT event the other day, and now you're here talking to TERFs. You have no issue, like, having two different answers for different sets of people. Just say yes. They're a bunch of liberal mums who want to hear, like, liberal except the fact they're fucking fascists when it comes to trans people. Like, just say yes. It's what they want to hear. Dumbass.
deal that isn't working, and we've got to make Brexit work. That doesn't.
Sorry, Shesh, what were you going to say?
I just find it frustrating that, like, there's always one question about Brexit, and it's always in, like... And it's somehow, like... Even that question wasn't that bad, to be honest. I'll give them that. I'll give Mumsnet that, I guess. But somehow Keir Starmer managed to literally just shift gears into, like, talking points instead of just giving any kind of concrete answer. Like, he had such a perfect opportunity to be like, that is something we should consider because it is greatly affecting our economy, as shown by this statistic, that whatever. But
Well,
no,
that's just
instead
him in
he's
general,
like,
isn't it?
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
If I'm a guy and I have sex with a transgender, aren't I gay? Well, I'm a transgender and I had sex with your dad, and now you're banned from the chat. So
He's also a Zionist, so it doesn't matter.
awesome, incredible. Yeah, I think it's like he had an interview once where he was asked some kind of very direct question about policy, and he was like, "I'm not gonna come up with policy on the fly." His entire thing is shifting to talking points and avoiding answering questions. But like, then when he is asked about trans kids, he's like, "Yeah, trans kids should not be allowed to socially transition without their parents' permission." And it's like, "Oh, I thought you weren't coming up with policy on the fly, my dude. That's strange." Strange how you just came up with that policy on the fly.
Not involve going back into the EU, does not involve going to the customs union or the single market, but it does mean removing the barriers that are there to those that want to trade. It does mean sorting out the protocol in Northern Ireland. We had a big Labour Creatives launch last night, which was fantastic with the creative sector. They want help, particularly travelling across borders in relation to their sector, which is...
Sorry, so they want to be able to trade in the single market and they want to have free travel.
Yeah.
But you won't rejoin the EU or negotiate to have free travel or join the single market.
Yeah, I find it really funny that he's talking about Labour creatives. Can we just talk about how bad Labour's graphic design is? Like categorically, like, dismal. Like, I think there's Twitter accounts dedicated to blogging how bad it is. Like, I'm not kidding when they do not have any kind of design ethos. And it's like, it's kind of painful because I remember seeing I can't remember. It was like a green energy one, and there was no Labour red in it anywhere, so you would not be able to tell it was a Labour ad. And it was
Fucking
like,
phenomenal.
this person's talking about creatives like he has a clue what.
Yeah. I just tried to Google Labour Party graphics, and all it would give me were the really good graphics that Corbyn's Labour Party made. Because Google Images is based on like what images people enjoy seeing the most and what they bother looking at, and all of Keir Starmer's stuff is just
Does not bring joy. Does not bring joy. There's if we ever end up with archives, there'll be this blank space where the graphic design in this era existed, and then it'll be like, this is the dark ages. We do not talk about this.
Just it's just the first results, just like for the many, not the few.
Wait, is that the website Labour Design? I think it might be it.
Where's Labour Design? I'm not saying. Oh, Labour Design. Labour Party graphic designers. Oh God. Oh Christ. Oh wow. Yeah.
Wow, this website loads like garbage.
Inspiring stuff. It's almost like if there's no ideological basis, the NHS is mint. Wow. If there's no ideological basis to what you're trying to convey whatsoever, if there's no coherent politics that you can actually... NHS, we clap for you now. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Boris Johnson did back in 2017 when he voted against your pay rise and clapped when Conservatives won. So Keir Starmer, nurses pay rise. Right, so this was the 21st of October. Did not clarify if he backed their demands for inflation-beating pay rise, because he can't come up with policy on the fly. Wow. Completely understand why they're making that ask. I completely understand why they're making that ask. Wages have been very low for a long time. They're working really hard and prices are going through the roof. I don't want to see a strike. They don't want to go on strike. What I want to see is that resolved. But I do understand that many working people, whether it's nurses or others, are really, really up against it now, and of course they want negotiations to increase their wages. But if you came into power and you were in charge of their wages, would you grant it? And he replied, well, there's a mechanism to decide what will... Just say yes! It's nurses!
You
could just raise their pay!
Isn't this the Labour Party, the party of the workers?
Should be.
It would be
meant to be.
It'd be interesting if they sided with the workers every now and then.
Beefcliff just said, I would like to eat my cake and then also have it.
Or Starmer is an adult human packing peanut. I love that. That's a good way to describe it.
I'm always here for more Starmer roasts. Please keep them coming. Let's go on with more of this unfortunate man.
It's absolutely huge. All of those things need to be fixed, but that doesn't involve going back into the EU. It does involve making Brexit work.
Okay. Glomerulus asks, I was pleased to see the clean energy plans at the party conference, but what does Labour plan to do about the climate impacts we're already facing and which will get worse in the future? Will you be willing to strengthen the Climate Change Act of 2008 to make sure that resilience to climate impacts is not just assessed, but actually done and properly financed?
Yes, we absolutely need to move forward on this. And what we did at our conference was to set out what we call our Green Prosperity Plan, which is a plan that does involve clean power by 2030, but that's a massive undertaking. I think it will be done. Lots of people said, Keir, it's difficult. I said, I know it's difficult, but is it possible to do it? And the answer is yes, with a government that has the intent to do it. So clean power by 2030. GB Energy, publicly owned company driving this forward towards renewables. Renewables are 9 times cheaper than oil and gas, and our plan does, for the first time, a political party has been able to put forward a plan for the future that does 4 things. Firstly, it'll bring our bills down. And talking to the mums in particular downstairs who are struggling with their energy bills, they want to hear how those energy bills are going down. Second thing it does is to give us security so that we're not exposed to the international market in the same way, with Putin being able to, as I say, put his foot on our throats. Thirdly,
Well, he stumbled over that one. He was having a little moment. He was thinking about that.
Yeah, as Mule pointed out, it's just not true. It's just not true. That's just straight up misinformation.
Did he say the thing already? It's the most bold plan.
Market in the same way, with Putin being able to, as I say, put his foot on our throats. Thirdly, huge generational change in relation to the jobs of the future.
Christ. Jesus.
And fourthly, deals with climate change. So we've got this very...
Oh, and fourthly, it deals with climate change.
Very, very powerful plan together. It's the most bold plan that anybody's put on there, and we'll put it...
Most bold.
It's the most bold plan that anyone's put on there. I will say that's the most bold lie that he's told in this interview, because Corbyn proposed the Green Industrial Revolution, which we just covered last week on Red Planet. You know, it ultimately falls within liberalism and it is an embarrassing failure at trying to tackle climate change in a fundamental level, because you can't really tackle climate change without ending capitalism. But it was rated by experts, since the Labour Party and Liberals love experts, as the most radical, most bold, innovative plan that had ever been proposed in British politics to deal with the climate. And then here's Keith, top cop, spam man Starmer.
Does he even care about the climate? He's not even wearing a real poppy.
Well, if the climate gets fucked, they won't be able to grow any more opium, and so that would be a great shame to British nationalism. Deinonychus Turbo Laser, thank you very much for gifting a sub to Crashtronomy. Crashtronomy, you now have a tier 1 sub, which means that you're able to use cool emotes like MILF Pills and CIA Femboy, and when you use them in other people's chats, as well as mine, people will see you using them and they'll go, okay. And so if anyone else wants to become a sub and be able to use those emotes, yeah, just do it. And if you have Prime, you can become a sub for free, and I get real money out of it. So,
Do it.
If you're enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using Command Tip. And if you donate directly using Command Tip, it would help me out. And Jeff Bezos doesn't get a cut, so it's very cool. You know what I'm realizing is that my gestures, they're all very aggressive. I like to make little guns. I like to make little fists. I like to point. And what I really need to do is I need to have less aggressive gestures, like this, and like this, and you know, maybe the most aggressive gesture I should really permit myself to do is if I'm talking about stamping approval on things, and otherwise I should just do the DJ tables, do the coming together, powerful plan for the future.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm realizing I'm so aggressive right now with my little cowgirl guns, and I need to just like reel it in. If I'm ever going to be respected in an open, decent, and balanced discussion in which I could show Keir Starmer my asshole, fart loudly, and then leave, I need to appeal to a broad base.
I think you'd be okay with it as long as you didn't ask him to pay you, and then he'd arrest you.
I should show Keir Starmer my pink little butthole and then say, and that's my opinion. Everybody has one, Keith.
Oh.
And you can't appeal to them all.
Let's hear him. Let's finish this video. Go on.
He just said it was the most bold plan that's ever been on there, was what he said. He didn't specify what exactly, but like it was just a fucking lie. He's just a liar! Sorry.
They don't even have a manifesto currently, right?
Right. He's saying we have this plan. Well, I haven't fucking seen it.
Oh.
So he can just say it's the most bold plan. You know.
God.
Part 4
Get
is
some
deal with
chat
climate
shit.
change. So maybe the final part of his green prosperity proposal is to just end climate change. In which case, it would be the most bold plan. Step 4 in his plan is to destroy America and all remnants of American imperialism.
I love that Mumsnet is interviewing him about, what is it, the energy crisis, and he's going on to climate change. Like, wow, Mumsnet. Cutting journalism.
They're really holding him to account.
It's better than most places, I guess.
It's ahead of many of our partners across the world. So the sooner we can get going on that, the better, because we've had years and years of delay. If you look at this government's failure, it's everywhere to be seen. They've not really tackled this. They've not gone for onshore wind. Insulating people's homes is hugely important. We were doing that a bit until Cameron said cut the green crap. Then it all dropped down, and now people are still living in homes where they're paying energy bills. A lot of that's being lost. Shouldn't have been the case. We intend to do something about it.
Okay.
Is he really arguing that if we insulate houses more, that we will somehow stop people's bills rising? Because that's not the problem. The problem is that
I mean, if
energy
energy is lost, like if you can't effectively heat your home, then you do like lose money through losing like just heat energy through the house, which is a real thing. That could be greatly helped by nationalizing the energy companies alongside creating like a national
very interesting you'd say
plan
that
to help people get insulation in their housing. Maybe some kind of like national housing service that would help people be in well insulated, well lit, good infrastructure homes free of charge. All sorts of things would be possible if you had a human being's brain and soul and not one entirely made of pork.
Luca must be a child or a pet.
Yeah, well, who knows?
They've not gone for onshore wind. Insulation.
Onshore wind is such a. They're trying to make this a talking point. I've seen this in a bunch of like articles from mainstream sources talking about like Rishi Sunak, like he won't go for onshore wind. He's against it or whatever. I think he's U-turned on it now anyway. But like, they're trying to make this as like the big climate thing, as if it's like the issue that we need to overcome, and then we'll have solved it. And it's just like no, like. No, like we need more onshore wind for sure, but like it's so much bigger than that.
So what's actually interesting? I follow Christine Burns on Twitter, and she's been posting recently about a lot about like the energy prices and green renewables and stuff like that, and it's a lot of stats and stuff. But what's interesting is that like a lot of the days we do have a lot of green energy, and like majority of like to the point where like you could argue a majority of our energy is green. And it's like, so the issue isn't necessarily that we don't have a lack of green energy. Like, yes, we need to build more green energy, and that's all true. But the reality is like, that is still years away. Like, the problem we're having now is that it costs too much to run people's vehicles and stuff like that, and like heat their home, and like it's deeply frustrating when politicians talk about climate change and power and energy and always talk about these big ideas about like being 2 to 3 years away. Let's be realistic. Like these places do not get like these wind farms don't appear overnight. Like we're not going to solve that problem. Like the reality is winter is coming, as people say. And
do people still say that though? Is that still
I don't know.
A topical reference?
I don't know. I never watched. I never watched the
loads
show.
of people still putting on northern accents badly and saying catchphrases.
I
from
think
Game
Keir
of Thrones.
Starmer would try and get the northern vote. He'd try and do a northern accent. I'd love to see it. It'd be very funny. But
I want
yeah,
Keir Starmer to try and say "Ayo."
he'd melt.
I'd like
just
Keir Starmer to be asked at a press conference, "Are you Isla?" and see what he says.
oh, I just how does he talk so much shit? Like, I don't understand. Like, he's so removed. You can tell he's so removed from like this kind of existence because like when like people talk about bills and things, they aren't necessarily worried about like, oh, there's not enough insulation in my house or something, you know, like, or like, oh, I wish there was more green energy, then my bills would be lower. They're like, I'm in my overdraft and I'm going to starve if I can't pay my bills. Like it's so pathetic for people not like politicians especially the Labour Party of all people, not to be more serious about such a, you know, this is going to kill people. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like people are going to die
Yes.
because of the incompetency of the Tory party. And all the Labour Party can do, and particularly Keir Starmer, is talk about, well, they just did it wrong, we could do it better.
Yeah,
it's
out
like
of control. We need more authority. We need more control.
Yeah.
We need to make Brexit work, which is not as catchy a slogan as "Get Brexit Done," so it's never going to appeal to the same
Yeah.
people that Boris was appealing to anyway. And it's just quiet bat people, right? It's just the thick of
Yeah.
it. Like it's just more absolute fucking wank from the worst neoliberal ghouls. And the more important question is, Shash, do you have like a PayPal or something I could drop in the chat, because I don't want you to starve.
I
And I'm
do.
sure lovely people here would be very willing to help.
I think I have a Ko-fi. I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Okay. Keir Starmer is a body that is waiting for like some Agent Cooper-like character to exit the Black Lodge through a power socket that he's electrocuted himself in and inhabit him. At which point he will spend about 3 weeks walking around getting people coffee and saying, "Keir, Keir," before he comes back online fully and realizes his destiny and exits the meta narrative. I'm saying he's a tulpa, is what I'm trying to say. He just is a fucking tulpa.
Yeah.
His insides are almost 95% Garmin Bosia. He's bad inside. Do you have a link to your coffee?
I'm trying to find it. 1 second. Is this me? No. I remember my username. I do.
Sentient spam tulpa. Yes, exactly. There is a tiny island of tiny people somewhere who worship spam, and they make a spam man like the Wicker Man, and they usually burn it, but it came to life instead. And by life I mean the shambling, embarrassing facsimile of life that Keir Starmer calls existence. And that's Keir Starmer, basically, is what I'm saying.
Do you think they have to keep the temperature controlled so his face doesn't slough off?
I think they have to keep him at a crisp -3 so that he doesn't start to develop molds. I think that I think he
You
would
think that
start
is
to
his
go, like,
hair, Sophie?
I think that he would start to go like a little brown and crusty around the edges, like like spam that's tin has been opened and left for too long. Chat, please help out Shash, because I really don't want her to be in her overdraft and having to worry about money. I've dropped her Ko-fi a bunch of times in chat there. Let's carry on with a little bit more Keith as a treat for everyone. A little treat. Where's my tab? There it is.
People's homes is hugely important. We were doing that a bit until Cameron said cut the green crap. Then it all dropped down, and now people are still living in homes where they're paying energy bills. A lot of that's being lost. Shouldn't have been the case. We intend to do something about it.
Okay, thank you. So a question from I Love Luca. And this is a question.
Luca must be a child or a pet.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
assuming.
who knows? If Bridget was sitting here,
Or a niche reference to a fascist turf or something. Like,
Probably. That's what I was
literally,
thinking. It's
like,
just like...
yeah, like it could be like I love JK or like I love Magdalene.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Magdalene must be their daughter.
in your position as prospective leader of the country, she would definitely get asked this question. So she says, "I'm asking this because I'm so."
Oh, this I actually want to get the full question and reaction on this one, because it's just raw cringe. It's just
Oh no.
it's really
Oh,
powerful.
no.
It's really
I
powerful.
don't know if I'm prepared.
So we're prefacing it with if Bridget were going to be the leader of the Labour Party instead, which Keir is the first to say that there should be a female leader of the Labour Party and female Prime Minister. So why isn't she? But she would get asked this question, so he should too.
Here in your position as prospective leader of the country, she would definitely get asked this question. So she says, "I'm asking this because I'm certain if you're a woman, he would be asked this question. Yet I can't recall having seen him be asked it. How do you balance the demands of your incredibly demanding job with those of having a young family? Do you actually get to see your kids? And does your wife end up picking up the strain? And if so, does she mind?"
Well, the first thing is I should be asked that question, and quite right too. I'm very happy to answer it. I do try to get the balance right. It is difficult because it's a busy job, but it is about choices. And I make the choice to give up time for my children. I don't want in 10 years' time to do what so many men do, which is to say, oh, I wish I'd spent more time with my children. I really regret it. So, for example, just to give an example, I've got a hard stop in my diary at 6 o'clock on a Friday, unless it's exceptional. I will be going home. I will be with my wife. I will be with our kids. Equally, at the weekend, our kids do sport and all the usual things, and I try to take them to that. And but it's no good sort of not doing that. You've got to carve out that time. Now, true it is on a Friday, we argue about what takeaway we might get, and everyone is trying to get the iPads off the kids. So, but I've got rules about this. I'm not going to be someone who in 10 years just says, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd spent more time with my kids. I love being with my kids. It's fantastic.
Right.
So resign then. You love spending time with your kids? This is a message to Keir Starmer's kids. How much does he love spending time with you?
I hate...
Does he love spending time with you enough to resign and spend all his time with you? Because he could. He has the money. He's not I mean, you think you're getting that money? You think you're going to spend it on a house with the planet on fire? You think you're going to buy a house with your inheritance from him? You're not, because he's not going to do anything with climate change. All you've got is your time with your dad before,
My pet peeve.
How much does he love spending time with you? Ask him. Ask him why he doesn't resign. Ask him how much he thinks there should be a leader of the Labour Party who's a woman. Ask him, Keir Starmer's kids, if you ever see this. Ask him how much he likes spending time with you. And how come he doesn't resign?
One of my pet peeves in interviews like this is dumb choice/pop feminism questions, as if they're this and what I hate
this is what British people think feminism is.
Yeah, and it's and the fact that Keir Starmer was fucking chomping for that bit, you could tell he was oh yeah, I should be asked that question. Look at me, I'm a real feminist.
The suffragettes threw bombs at politicians, and this is what feminism is to
it's
to British people now.
The hard-hitting questions. Do you spend time with your family?
To which his answer, broadly speaking, is no.
The
weekend, unless something comes up, in which case I do stay and work anyway.
Which is kind of shocking, really, considering how little he does.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think that he would have loads of free time, actually. He's not up to much. He isn't
No,
publishing
like-
any fucking policies. He doesn't commit to anything. He doesn't have a manifesto. He barely does that many interviews, honestly. Like, he's not, like, no one knows who the fucking guy is, because he's not, like on fire on the fucking press circuit, is he? What's occupying his time? Keir Starmer's children, who I am asking directly with this question. What's occupying his time? Why is it more important than you?
I love one of my like favorite things is was it Michael Gove's kid that was on TikTok? And I was like, and then how much they hated their kid. I just know one day we're gonna have like Keir Starmer's kids on like TikTok or whatever, and they're just gonna be posting the L's their dad does at home, just like, just
Yeah.
or
yeah.
at it and oh God, I just
They have a trans
I
friend
just-
at school, and they come over for dinner, and Keith is like, well, I hope you got permission from your parents. And they're like, what, to come over? And he's like, no. You know what I mean. For all of this.
gender.
Does your mom know about this? And they're like, yes. What? Do you spend
He's
time with your
such-
kids? And he's like, yeah, weekends. Fuck, man. And also they asked like whether his wife has to pick up the slack, and he just didn't like really address that part of it. I don't know if Keir Starmer's wife works. I don't know if she's a stay-at-home mum. I'm not passing any kind of judgments to do with that. I'm judging whether he spends time with his kids. Because he could if he resigned, which he should do for many reasons. Many reasons.
Really,
Fucking resign,
like,
Keith. Sorry.
I hate him. I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate him that this is the only like viable option we have in a general election because of first past the post. Like I just
It's
hate his
vile.
existence. It's just like who am I meant to vote for if there's a general election? Like do I vote for who's someone who is more than happy with my existence disappearing and I'll be able
Right.
to survive because like the bills may go down a little for like
Right.
you know and like or do I not vote and just like hope for the best because like how can I in good conscience and this is what like
Literally,
frustrates me
right?
about yeah like it's like liberals always say like especially with the whole general election talk always coming back up because of like prime ministers going doing a spinning door
Yeah.
and then people are like you gotta vote, you gotta get out there and vote, and I'm like how am I meant to feel comfortable voting? Do you, like, for example, my local vote polling place, you know, like they had a turf conference thing there, you know, like the church that was the
Yeah.
polling place.
Right.
It's just kind
You're supposed to
of
just walk into like the turf nest, the hive.
yeah, like
and vote.
this place, this church, mind you, hosted this. It was the
Yeah.
men's part of the Philia conference or whatever it was. It was like the men's specific one, and it's like, yeah, you want me to go vote there? Like
Cool.
it's
Yeah.
just
That feels safe.
and it's like I remember my partner emailing my local
What
MP
does
and getting
Philia
a
stand
piss
for?
poor. Philly?
Philia, you said?
Oh, Philia. I think it's a charity. I can't remember what exactly it stands for.
Right.
But they claim to be a women's rights charity, but it's most of their stuff is thinly veiled transphobia and whorephobia, to be honest. Like, they had a standing ovation at one of the like.
This
they
sounds like a
posted-
cheap shot, but is my organic thought, because every time anyone mentions Philia, it just makes me think of Nambla. Like, it just sounds like... I don't mean that as a cheap shot. It's just what pops into my head. I just like I find discussions about voting right now.
exhausting.
Well, I try not to have them as much as I can, but it breaks down to two things for me, right? One is exactly what you're expressing right now, which is like trans people. How the fuck are we supposed to feel safe? But also broadly speaking, everyone, right? Because like, are we? we are trying to be made complicit in something. That's what they're trying to do to us, right? They're trying to make it so that we feel complicit because our belief follows our action so much of the time. Like we vote for something,
Yeah.
and then the administration is in, and then they fuck up and they don't, like, they do this piss poor, half-managed neoliberal rollout scheme to create a publicly owned energy company to compete in the free market to GB Energy, blah blah blah, right? And we're like, yeah, they're doing it. I voted for this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, no, they just want your complicity. They just want you to sign off on the legitimacy of electoral politics, and they want you to feel like you did a politics and can now stop doing a politics when you're done voting, right?
Yeah.
And that's just like, so I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying know exactly how much agency you have in an electoral system, which is none. Like your one vote in 60 million votes is no power. But your power organizing with other people to engage in mutual aid can be enormous, absolutely fucking enormous when it comes to like the impact on ordinary people's lives. Because if you're voting in the hopes that Keir Starmer will do something to stop people from freezing and starving to death this winter, well, sorry, this gets to the other part, right? Because the other part is, what general election? We keep having conversations about a general election as Prime Minister after Prime Minister after Prime Minister comes in, and like Sunak's having calls for like vote of no confidence already, but like if the Tory party
They're just
brings
planning
in another
on putting
guy,
they're just planning on putting Penny Mordaunt on there. Like that,
right?
I
Like,
think that's
if they bring in Penny Mordaunt, like they will want to reset the clock that is automatically set in the Tory party mind, the hive mind of the Tory party, which is we need 6 months until they've settled in, so they're a respectable incumbent, so we can have a general election, and then there'll be an incumbent, which is much harder to beat, and then we can roll out a bunch of propaganda, have a press tour, slander the opposition, beat them in a debate, and win again, and then we don't have to worry for 5 years, right? That's the Tory thinking. But that 6 months resets every time there's a new prime minister. So there was Boris, and then there was Truss, and it reset. And now there's Sunak, and it reset, right? So the month and a half of Truss is not counted in that like 6 month period before they would be willing to call a general election anyway, right? So even ignoring the fact that like in 6 months the winter will have passed and we will just have had the full fucking effects with no mitigation, because Corbyn was an incredibly effective opposition leader. Like Corbyn was able to make votes go the way that he wanted. He defeated the Tories in Parliament like a record number of times. I think that only Thatcher was a more effective opposition leader than Corbyn was, in parliamentary terms, right? And like, excuse me,
like Corbyn
Starmer
has
is
this
not
issue.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
no,
Corbyn has his own issues.
I'm not idolizing Corbyn. I'm saying
No.
that Starmer is not that. Starmer has never made the government vote the way that he wants. And yeah, you could say the Tories have this massive supermajority and blah, blah, blah. Starmer isn't interested in making them vote the way that he wants them. He wants them to enact all of their policies with authority and control, right? He doesn't want them to do a different thing. He wants them to do the thing they're doing well, right? So he'll never want them to vote a different way on anything. He'll never want that.
He always talks about wanting dialogue and stuff, but the reality is he's not listening to anyone in his own party. He's not actually listening to the voters that joined Labour and stuff like that because of like Corbyn or people who want change, who want to see difference in this country. Yeah. And he's more than happy to just wish-wash and fill his pocket, at the end of the day, because he knows at the end of the day anything he does won't affect him. Like, he is fine. Like, at the end of the day, 50 years from now, if he's still alive, he is gonna be fine.
Yes,
it's us that we have to worry about,
Abso-fucking-lutely, and he doesn't represent us, and he never will. And the truth is, if Corbyn had done what the media was accusing him of and had a commie purge of anyone with differing opinions from the party, right? 2017, the Labour Party lost by 2,000 votes because Theresa May was hysterically unpopular, right? She hid in a fucking fridge to get away from him, right? Was it her who hid in a fridge? She hid anyway. She wouldn't do a fucking debate with him at all. She was terrified of it, and she lost by he lost by 2,000 votes because the Labour right sabotaged the campaign from within. If he had done the purge he was accused of doing, we would have Corbyn as prime minister. We would have had Corbyn as prime minister, and we would be in an immeasurably better place now. Like all of this aside, there's not going to be a general election before the winter. We have to do the things that we can to take care of each other now. And that's terrifying, but it's just the truth. And like when people, I said this at the start of the stream as well, but like I made a TikTok and I said about like trans people can't feel safe voting for the Labour Party just as much, very much what you were just expressing just now, that like, who the fuck are we supposed to feel safe voting for? And loads of people were like, well, I'm trans, and I think the most important issue is that the cost of living crisis. And it's like, Starmer isn't going to do fucking dick about shit about the cost of living crisis. The only thing that would help is nationalising the energy, and he's not going to fucking do that. And there's not going to be an election before then. So why the fuck are we talking about voting, right? And I know I've invited everyone here to talk about electoral politics because I'm talking about Starmer because we're watching a Starmer interview. But there is no vote. There's no vote. There's no general election before the catastrophic winter that's about to hit us, right? There is no general election. It's not real. Don't allow people to have this conversation with you. Say, there is no fucking general election. And furthermore, when there is a general election, the basic premise of electoral politics is that parties are supposed to appeal to you to win your votes. You're not supposed to just vote for them by default because they're better technically than the other guy. And if you know that the latter is the situation and will not change because we have this fucked first past the post policy, right? Then you can vote for a party that you think will marginally reduce harm. Ideally, you can vote for a party that supports proportional representation and fixes the electoral system so that electoral politics could mean fucking anything at all. Right?
Where for example, like devolved nations get such little say in Westminster.
Exactly.
It's absolutely disgusting because, like, at the moment, like in Wales, we are owned by people who do not.
Shash, your audio's gotten really, really bad suddenly. Just I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying demand that parties do better. That's the basic premise of electoral politics. And then when you have to vote because you have no fucking choice, understand that that does not actually give you complicity in their actions. Just understand that it's just this fucking box-ticking exercise where you go, I'd like less harm instead of more harm, please. And then get on with the rest of politics, the vast majority of politics which exists far outside of the fucking polling booth. How's the audio situation?
I should be back.
Oh, way better.
I think.
Yeah, much better.
Cool. Yeah, like the things you can be doing is helping like your local mutual aid, or like if there is like a trans mutual aid, be a part of it or something. There's so many like grassroots things you can do. Like if there's a local Acorn chapter near you, you should join it. Like that should be a no-brainer. Like there are things which, like, while electoral politics has let us down and will continue to let us down, there is no point, in my opinion, putting faith in a system that has already left you by the wayside. Like they're not even considering us at this point. We're just talking points to them.
Yes.
And
talking points, to be clear, to appeal to bigots. Like that's what he's using this for. Like he didn't fucking publicize his appearance.
Why do you think he's on Mumsnet? Yeah.
He didn't publicize and go like, hey, shit, look, I'm talking to Pink News. I'm doing this thing about my friend died and it's blah blah blah. He didn't use that for credibility to appeal to the allies of LGBT people. But he is doing this to appeal to bigots.
Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to be feel that the Labour Party at the moment can change. Like I don't know if you knew, Sophie, but I used to be a part of LGBT Labour Wales, and
your sound's gone completely all of a sudden.
Oh no.
Okay, back now.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
I don't
repeat
know
the
what my
last
computer's
like 5 seconds
Yeah.
or so.
The reason I left is because like every kind of like movement we try to make within,
Oh, it's
trying
gone
to.
really weird again for a sec.
No, no,
No, I know.
it's transphobia.
I think it's back
Um,
now. No.
I think no. Hello, please, please, please.
It's okay-ish.
Okay,
Yes. All right. Leave it
yes.
entirely alone.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna hold my hands up
Okay.
because Keir will threaten me. um, yeah, it's depressing in the sense that like, what was I saying? I feel I've forgotten.
LGBT labor and you left.
Yes, I left because like at the end of the day, whenever we try to make a change and like,
Yeah.
ask for the systems within the party to take action on the transphobia in our local CLP or anything like that, silence. We'd be either called into meetings where we'd just spend an hour saying, "Oh yes, action should be taken," and then silence.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to believe in and I'm saying this like having tried for change within the Labour Party years, like just not even that long ago, like a couple of years ago now, but still relatively recent, and it didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
what is the point of like I've tried the system? There's no way that the Labour Party is willing to change to support minority groups. Like
Yeah.
the fact is like even Corbyn, for example, was still unfortunately more pro cop than I'd liked. Like
Yeah,
he didn't
absolutely.
outwardly come out and like say Black Lives Matter and
Yeah.
tackle
I
the.
remember a Labour canvasser came to our door, and I'd been saving for this moment. Like I'd been waiting for this to happen, and I ran down the stairs, and I was like, "Can you tell me your party cares about trans people?" And she didn't have an answer for that. She called over her supervisor. Her supervisor didn't have an answer for that, right? While her supervisor was trying to pacify me, she said, the canvasser who'd come to the door in the first place said, like, have you considered joining the party and representing trans issues there? And I said, I would rather jump off a fucking bridge, frankly. Because why would I join a party who actively fucking hate me, right? To try and hopefully change it from the inside, dedicate my every waking moment to this mission in the hopes that then they win an election and are able to put through policies that they won't put through because they'll think they're like a niche interest that are like too risky and will lose them votes. And it's like the Tory like fucking behemoth has so many little niche interests in it. It has so many like anti-traveller stuff, for example, right? Doesn't appeal to the entire Tory base. Many Tories fucking hate travellers, are awful racists in general and against travellers in specific. But like them putting in anti-traveller policy isn't to win a broad swath of votes. It's to win a little bit of votes, right? From people who really want to see that in specific areas where they are particularly racist against travellers. And their anti-trans stuff is to win a little bit of votes from people who spend too much time on Mumsnet, and they're and on, NIMBY shit, like against onshore wind farms, right? All of these are little policies to grab like little pieces, right? There's no ideological cohesion because they're all just trying to grab little bits of voter base along a broadly conservative line. And like Labour could absolutely do the same thing with progressive policies and appeal to minorities in an identical way, frankly. Like they could go, we want to defend travellers' rights. Cool, travellers going to vote for you. We could defend trans people's rights. Cool, trans people are going to vote for you now. Allies of trans people are going to vote for you. We could support onshore wind farms. Cool, a bunch of hippies and people who think, rightly by the way, that wind turbines are actually very beautiful and don't fucking kill birds or whatever nonsense, right? We're now going to vote for you, right? Like and then you build this coalition of people who want to vote for you, and instead their entire project is just not being quite as bad as the Tories.
I don't understand how anyone thinks in the Labour Party that this is going to win votes or like people to their side in any And you always get that, like you said, people, you should join the Labour Party. The other arguments was like, well, you should start your own party or join another party, and it's like, electoral politics is so fundamentally broken in the UK that it is not just impossible for a third party outside of Labour and the Conservative government to get in by themselves, not as a coalition, by themselves specifically. It is not possible. On top of that, for a new party to even gain a semblance of the vote, you need stupid amounts of money. Like,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
like, and there
As
is
evidenced
no
by
way.
UKIP. As evidenced
Yeah.
by UKIP, like Nigel Farage was a former Wall Street banker.
That's the
Like-
only reason that we heard of UKIP. Like, there is
Yes.
no way. Like
And it
the
scared
idea.
the Tories enough that what the Tories did, to revisit what I just said about the Tory like electoral project, how they became the long-lasting and powerful party that they are, they just absorbed all of the UKIP policies. They just
Yep.
said, "Oh, we're losing votes to them. We'll just take all their policies. Done." Right?
Yeah.
But like, nothing like that's going to happen with Labour because trans people aren't going to get the funding from anywhere to start a policy that like to start a party that would meaningfully like steal votes away from Labour. And like even places where Labour is losing votes, like the Green Party, they don't follow the line and just like the obvious move and just like look at the policies that people are preferring and copy them, which would be so obvious, you know?
And I think people also fail to realize, like, on like an even on an individual level,
you're
as
getting
like
quite spicy again.
even on like an individual level of like MPs and their jobs. I was looking into, and like I've had people tell me like maybe you should try running for local council or something like that. And it's like, I'm sorry, I know councillors do it a lot. I'm like, I'm already disabled. I do not want to be doing a thankless job, like where I'm underfunded because people in power just refuse to
It's
see.
getting quite bad again, Shash.
Am I back?
No, it's still quite bad. I just like the Mumsnet interview taken as a case study. I think is an example where we can see where power is being wrested back and forth within the Labour Party. Someone near to Keir Starmer said you could win some mums votes doing an interview with Mumsnet. You've said that you want to put families first, so this is a constituency that's important to you, so go talk to Mumsnet, and then everyone on Mumsnet will vote for you. And it's definitely that. Like, there's no other reasoning there. It's not focus group. Like, we talk a lot about, like, Keir Starmer being such a wonk and a technocrat that it must be all like, focus group driven. It's not. It's literally not. It's a Westminster insider ball game where, like, just someone who knows Keir was like, you should go talk to Mumsnet. And the reason that they did that is that they are an egregious turf. Like, that's definitely the reason that whoever fucking did that. They were saying, you should go talk to Mumsnet, and thinking, because then you'll have to appeal to bigots, right? And it just, that's the way the Labour Party works at this point. Like, all of his policies don't try to appeal through focus groups, because honestly, he would be doing a better job if he was just looking at polling numbers and just going like, this policy would be popular, this policy. If he were actually on such like an autopilot, this is why I find tulpa to be a more like useful term than like when I joke about him being a robot or whatever. It implies this kind of like sapient, like analytic ability, like, you know, data, like some android, right? Like almost Mr. Spock, like,
Yeah.
right? You sound better now. Whereas like, I say he's a tulpa because I want people to think about Dougie Jones from Twin Peaks: The Return, right? I want people to think about this insufferable fucking yes man with no personality whatsoever outside of him being a skeezy fucking scumbag, right? Like, I want people to understand that he's an apparatchik and a middleman and a fucking like reconstituted fucking slurry of spam poured into a mold first and foremost. And he is just pushed and pulled by the the journalists who write at The Guardian and his Westminster peers and wonks and lanyards within the Labour Party, and nothing else matters to him. Not even data, like not even focus groups, not even what would poll well. Doesn't fucking matter to him. Because we've seen him poll abysmally and do nothing to try and remedy it. He literally doesn't care about that. He cares about what people are writing about him in newspapers, because he's just like absolutely painfully, like agonizingly middle class. Like,
so out of touch. It's unbelievable.
it's ridiculous.
Like,
Anyway, yeah.
but like the fact that this happened like maybe a week after the Pink News Award
Yeah.
is so incredibly infuriating to me, because I have to like really hammer home that there was a lot of trans people in that room. You know, trans people won awards kind of thing. And like there was a lot of talk about transphobia and we need to stamp it out and things like that. And for him to say that like, yeah, we're going to stand for trans rights, and then go on this interview with Mumsnet,
Yeah.
you know, where the users of that site have painted really homophobic, transphobic, even like specifically anti-Semitic remarks about Benjamin Cohen, the
Yeah.
CEO of Pink News.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does no one who controls his diary have like a clue of optics? Like, that's what I fail to understand about Starmer. Like, there's some people who say like he's just doing this for optics. You know, he's trying to gather as many votes as possible. But like, his optics are terrible.
It's
Like,
it is
everyone
provably
thinks he's
false.
garbage.
It's provably false that he's trying to appeal to as many people as possible, because everything he does is fucking
Yeah.
unpopular, and it wouldn't actually be that hard to appeal to as many people as possible. Like we remember like the 2000s. There was so much satire of like politicians trying to appeal to as many people as possible, and yeah, they would use like talking points and platitudes in the way that he would, but they would also just like, you know, return to like a core sense of like obviously popular things that like anyone could agree people would like to see, and he doesn't even do that. He tries to appeal to as many journalists as possible. He wants as many journalists as possible to like him. He doesn't know or care or understand the concept of the voter base, of the electorate, of the population. He just doesn't.
And
He only knows talking points.
it feels like it echoes a very Tony Blair tactic, because he did the same thing with the Murdoch press. You know, like that was his whole thing.
But Tony Blair
And,
was
like-
so close to Rupert Murdoch, he literally
Yeah.
fucked his wife. And
Like, yeah,
was the godfather of his children. Like, that's not going to happen with Keir Starmer.
yeah, and like, if it's just ridiculous that people think that they can replicate the same thing, because I feel like a lot of people in Labour who are not, say, on the left of the party, or more centrist or whatever,
Yeah.
they genuinely think they can replicate what Blair did in
Yeah.
current time. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
We do not have this supposedly rising middle class anymore. You know, we do not have the ability to people spending money on Christmas. Like, it's a completely different landscape, and for him to think that people are still reading journalists on goddamn Guardian for their voting information is not realistic, because like it's honestly unbelievably frustrating how out of touch the Labour Party in general is. Just with every single policy, they are years out of date. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's painful at this point, because like we're talking about stuff like people who are on like on the left, you know, as it were. We're talking about like radical housing, different type of urban construction, so resources are more efficiently transported, or local based recycling, or you know, and like so many different things where we are like, things that would, even in a capitalist sense, better our economy, like
Because socialists are constantly put in the position of having to save capitalism from itself. And like
yeah,
so many socialist policies would help to prop up capitalism and keep capitalism going right now. You know?
yeah,
And yet capitalism is is fanatically veering away from it because like the capitalists in charge right now are very conscious of the fact that the world is going to end if nothing is changed, and they don't want anything to be changed, so they're starting to build policy and understanding and contracts and their entire system around the fact that around the idea we're all gonna fucking die. There's nothing we can do. Like there are short hold leases on properties now where people are paying the full price for a property, but they only own it for 30 years because it won't be there in 30 years. You know?
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just like, that's just the unbelievable grimness of that. I mean, honestly, fucking look at these, all right? Like, disposable vapes, right? I'm saying as a disposable vape smoker, are like batteries. They're mostly batteries. They have a little bit of fucking nicotine liquid in them with a flavoring. But like, they're mostly just a battery that you carry around for a day or two, and then you throw in landfill? Like, this would not have been like conceivable like 20 years ago, because this is just this unbelievable grim nihilistic death cult shit where they're just like fucking whatever, turn a profit while the lights are on, because we're all gonna fucking die. But like, that's capitalist thinking, to be clear. Like, cheering on the end of the world, believing that we're all gonna fucking die, like acting in ways that align with the way, like the belief that the world is gonna fucking end, is because capitalism is a fucking death cult. But like, that consciousness, that approaching of like a capitalist end is a crucial, significant difference to like the Blair era. The Blair era was Fukuyama's end of history, right? It was everything is perfect. We've created this Pax Americana. Everything is absolutely fucking wonderful. If you're inside the Imperial core, right in the heart of it, you have nothing to worry about. No more history will happen. Everything will be peaceful. There won't be any large-scale, massive terror attacks where 2,000 people die. Don't worry about it. It's all gonna be fucking peachy forever, and just enjoy things. And that's the kind of like psychoeconomic reality in which people can vote for someone like Tony Blair. Someone imitating Tony Blair in 2022 with like 12 years to stop 1.5 degrees of warming above pre-industrial levels isn't going to win a fucking election.
Yeah, the status quo isn't good. Like, collectively, the population understands, and it's getting worse, even for like, like for supposed Tony Blair's voter base of like people who wanted to be middle class and the rising middle class. That doesn't exist anymore. Like, and it's it's getting worse. Like, I believe the tax cuts that conservative government got throwing are actually going to increase taxes for middle class people in the UK. Like, and the mortgage interest prices, for example, those are going up. And so, like, people who are moving on to, like, the standard tariff will end up paying more for a home they own. That it doesn't make sense. Like, there's so many things that happening that is affecting even people who own, like, property, like landowners. And there is no point. There is no... Anyone but the ultra-rich is not happy with how things are.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It is bad. It is like everyone has an issue, and whether it's not their living quarters, it's on their doorstep. Like, whether it be like, their wages not rising, for example, wage stagnation. Like, the amount of people I talk to and they say like, my pay hasn't gone up. Like, how am I, like, people taking 2-3, like, we're the most employed kind of, we're all like completely employed, and the people who can't work aren't able to work, and they're expecting us to somehow feed ourselves when we need 2 to 3 jobs
Yeah.
to exist.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like this constant blame on supposedly lazy people that doesn't exist. You know, like, don't we have like record lows of unemployment right now because everyone has like 2 or 3 jobs?
Right. I mean, we have massive underemployment because those 2 or 3 jobs aren't enough to actually pay the fucking bills. But yeah. It's just fundamentally not working in ways that people can see are like fundamental issues. And the only people left thinking that like electoral politics is actually going to solve anything like are so invested in the sports game of electoral politics that Starmer may as well just appeal to the journalists because they all take these like wonk lanyard opinions for actually like useful info, and they're just like they're nonsense, but like the only people in the game are deeply Twitter brained liberals.
Yeah. Electoral politics is so grim.
Yeah, so I wanted to have a little gaze into the abyss tonight. Thank you for joining me with that. I'm gonna drop your Ko-fi a few more times. People, please support Shash. She deserves to eat. Hot take. I mean, it's pretty wild.
I will buy lots of ice cream, and I am lactose intolerant, so all good things.
please support Shash. That's her Ko-fi. Shash, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a treat as ever. It's always a raucous laugh riot to have you on.
Yes, I love being on here. It's great.
Thank you. All right. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right. So that was Keir Starmer and Shash, who's much better than Keir Starmer. Let's raid someone. Let's do a cheeky little raid. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. Please do check out Shash's Ko-fi and support her. Shash for PM. I completely agree. We'd be in a much better place if Shash could be PM. Really, just abolish the UK. Shash, as Nat has just said in chat, Shash runs a trans mutual aid network in Wales and works with Trans Safety Network, both incredibly vital organisations. So do support her personally. Also check out Trans Safety Network and Trans Aid Cymru, which she works with. Abolish Keith, defund the Keith. I completely agree, possibly a Joe. Let's raid into... Who's ready for a raid? We're going to go raid Morgan. Let me just check I've got the spelling correct. I do. Morgan is playing some Bayonetta 3. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a treat. I might do a stream tomorrow. It's not impossible that I will. I will say it's unlikely, but I might do a short gaming stream tomorrow. Chat about some more political concepts. In the meantime, know that we will be talking to someone from the Laboratory of Insurrectionary Imagination on Red Planet on Sunday, and that's going to be a really cool time. They started the... what's the rest of the acronym? It's Circa, anyway. It's something Insurrectionary Rebel Clown Army, and we're all going to do clown makeup, and it's going to be a cool time. It's one of the authors of We Are Nature Defending Itself, a very cool little book I've been reading. It's going to be really neat, so check out Red Planet on twitch.tv/KiraChats on Sunday at 8 p.m. UK. Wait, is it a different time? Because the clock's changing? I think it might be 7 p.m. UK this week, but it might be back to normal next week. Anyway, on Sunday, watch out for our time announcement on you can follow us at red_planet_TV on Twitter. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy Morrigan's stream. Be really nice to her. She is the best. It's based to give Sophie's friends money, and it's cringe to not give Sophie's friends money. So please support Shash through her Ko-fi and go support Morrigan right now. And I hope you'll have a wonderful night. I'm gonna hang out with Nat. Okay, good night, everyone. Bye.